not to my laptop. I think I'm talking on just Satya, but you can type to the other ID, my mobile phone ID. Okay. So we'll start. We'll get into the class. So we are in the middle of discussing about elections, and did I tell you what is the study material for? Did I tell you what is the study material that you can actually make use of to prepare for this topic? Have I ever discussed with you? Have you ever seen that study material? If I have already suggested you the study material, have you taken the pains to go through the study material at least once? Okay, can I at least know whether I have suggested the study material or not? What you should be studying to prepare for this topic? Because what you find in Lakshmikant will definitely not be sufficient enough. Have I already told you? No, no, sir. Okay. Oh, I thought I already told you. Election Commission reforms. Propose electoral reforms for election. That is correct. How will you search for it? I'll show you. So this is the document. I hope you can see this document, right? So you have to just click download this file from eSay website. You'll have this document. Just go click download and you can open it. ORF online, that is also a good website to have relevant material. And in addition to that, this document will also be very, very useful document. Okay, just I'm not going to go through it completely, maybe 100 pages in total. But look at this very, very, very educative piece of document. Okay, you can gain a lot of knowledge reading, going through this, because these are the reforms which are yet to be taken forward, which are yet to be implemented. And this is exactly why are these reforms discussed, because these reforms are proposed so as to rectify the most pressing problems and loopholes associated with various laws regarding elections, like two RPAs, election conduct rules, and constitutional provisions itself. It is to rectify all those. We have a lot of recommendations given. So how many of you, may I know at least, if one or two have at least gone through the document? Have you at least gone through it? Have you at least come to know about what are the various issues that are involved in the electoral framework that causes a problem in the present day? Hmm? Have you guys actually gone through it? I'm not going to ask you questions. Just tell me if you have gone through it. Just give yes as an answer. Okay. Even if you had just downloaded this document, even that would be sufficient enough. No. Oh, okay. That is bad. None. Nobody. Hmm? I'm sure some of you might have gone through, because some of your answers are really good during discussions. So if you are capable of giving such answers, you must have read this document. Or else maybe you would have prepared from elsewhere also. We follow ORF. Okay, that is also a good website, but the problem is there you will not have something called as what all changes needs to be brought in. ORF is to discuss about the general problems. ORF is good, no doubt about that, but you can just go through it. Okay, it's a very interesting document. And electoral roll, even though we have come a long way in sanitizing electoral roll and make it very digital and make it very professional so that no impersonation of voters can take place, still there are some issues with respect to electoral rolls. So what could that be? Go through it, go through this chapter too. Similarly, you have a lot of such areas. So go through each chapter, or at least keep it as a target. One day, one chapter. Okay, keep this as a target. Oh, every day I should finish one chapter. One chapter is for 5 pages to 12 pages, 20 pages. There are different. Or keep it as a target. Every day I should complete 20 pages in on proposed electoral reforms. It will be given in a very beautiful manner. It will be given as what are the present problems, why are these problems happening, why is the laws inadequate, and what changes needs to be brought in. That is the framework in which all these topics will be discussed. So this is a very useful document which can help you score some good marks in the exam. You can go through it. Okay. So we will discuss about some other issues regarding election, and then we'll also discuss about regulatory bodies and quasi judicial bodies and tribunals. Okay. Okay. I think some of you are typing to this chat box. Okay, I'll just. Okay, I have just messaged you from one ID, so you can all follow. You can all send messages to only that ID, not to the other ID. Okay. So, okay, we'll look into the next issue regarding elections. The next issue regarding elections is with respect to a concept called as simultaneous elections. Okay, we'll see what it is. Well, I don't know how to minimize it. Just give me a minute. Okay. Any importance about electoral trust? I have come across this word in war of. Yeah. There is no importance as such about electoral trust. Maybe you can know how electoral trust is different from electoral bonds. Okay, so Vinisha is asking a question about electoral trusts. What is that? Anybody, can you tell me what is the concept called as electoral trust? Have you ever come across this concept called as electoral trust? So this is also an instrument that is used for funding for political parties in elections. So what is this? Anybody? Have you heard of this idea called as electoral trusts? Okay, yesterday I think I had suggested a ORF document to you. Did you go through the document? Hmm? Did you go through it? How many of you had gone through it? So what is that you're able to understand from that document? And I think that document is what can be a helpful resource in your exams. What I'm trying to say is you can learn how to score marks from that document. Okay. So if you had gone through that document, what is your key learning? What is your key takeaways from that particular document that I have shared with you yesterday? And friends, let me tell you, your UPSC preparation is actually done from those kind of documents only, not from your textbooks. Okay, textbooks are just to give you an idea about what are the topics, but your own self preparation is actually something that you have to do from all these kind of documents, which are really scholarly, which can help you build opinions and perspectives. So the one which I shared you yesterday, anybody, if you have read, can you tell me one takeaway, one key learning outcomes? Okay, you're expecting Supreme Court judgment on electoral bonds. Okay, right. That's okay, but tell me what was the so what was a saddening fact, or what was a comparison, or did you make use of all those beautiful graphs and diagrams? Were you able to appreciate the importance of those graphs and diagrams? Okay, okay. First, can I know, did you guys go through that document or not yet? At least give me an answer for that. Just it says that the donations, okay, have increased due to removal of the cap on, yes. Chronic capitalism is on the rise at the cost of common man. All right, all right. Okay. So anybody, anybody, tell me what was the key outcome? What was the key aspect that you were able to observe and um, I don't know whether I should ask you this question. If you have you gone through it or not, at least say no as the answer, so that if you say no, I can start discussing this electoral trust. That's why. Or if you have, I hope you're typing it. Okay. No, yes. Okay, yes. Okay. Make use of the document, go through it. That is what is intelligent preparation. When you go through the document, you will come across some graph. Okay, there is one graph which is like this. Let's say red is BJP, black is BJP, and red is INC. Okay. So let's say this is the period of 2000, maybe 2004, 2005, 2010, 15, and 20. Okay, this is the time frame. And here in y-axis, you will have amount received rupees in crores. You will have rupees in crores. Okay. So what the document says is the amount of political donations from corporates. So 2000, sorry, 2000, this period, 2004 to 14, this period is the time when Congress was in power, right? This is Congress in power. This is BJP in power. If you were to look at the graph of political funding, you will find that, let's say, Congress used to get a donation, Congress graph. So this is BJP's graph, and it just goes on like this. Okay, when you take Congress's share, when it comes to Congress's share, it during its time in power, of course, it used to get the highest amount of funding, but okay. So this is the kind of graph that you have. So one of the outcome from that article is that even when Congress was in power, okay, look at the uh, what do we say? It's a huge change that has happened. What is the change? When Congress was in power, the gap between the ruling party, that is red is INC, the amount that INC used to get, and the amount that the opposition, prime opposition party BJP used to get, the gap was only this much, correct? Even when Congress was in power. It's only when 2014 elections uh, when the capitalists were able to judge that okay BJP is going to power. From 2013 onwards, you will find that BJP's donations increases compared to Congress. But yes, yes, that's the correct learning. Wide gap now compared to the earlier period. That is the outcome. Now look at the gap. So the article says that if this is X and this is Y is 6 times of that of X. So between the political parties, now it's no longer a level playing field. Most of the contributions, corporate contributions that are received, have all accrued to the BJP. So this actually creates a very very difficult role, spending power even for the prime opposition party of this country. Congress is the prime opposition party. We are not talking about some other national party, or we are not talking about some state parties. We are talking about the prime opposition party, and this is the trend. So which is not clearly healthy for democracy. The prime opposition, if you need to have an opposition for democracy, maybe you don't have to have so many opposition which can cause instability, but you should at least have one opposition which can hold the government in check. But this is the reality. So all these kind of information and all, you can actually make use of very strategically with a very careful planning. You can make use of these kind of data wherever you come across in your exams. And this kind of a map, if you show, if there is an answer on electoral funding, if you're able to bring this kind of a map, you bring a conclusion here, the gap has widened in the recent years. When you draw it in a nice way, you can actually get one more mark, plus 1 mark. Just for one answer, you get 1 mark. This is how you trump over your competition slowly in each and every answers. Okay, we'll move on. We'll move on to electoral trust. See, electoral trust was actually an idea that was proposed by Tata Industries, right? The Tata Group, they had proposed an idea called as electoral trust. What is this electoral trust? So let's say I am running an electoral trust. My electoral trust is Satya Krishnan Electoral Trust. In fact, we'll take the real electoral trust. The largest electoral trust in India, its name is Satya Electoral Trust. Okay, that is actual largest electoral trust in India. What does this electoral trust do? The electoral trust, they get donations from Tata, from Ambani, from Adani, from Airtel, Bharati, Bajaj. Everybody contributes to this electoral trust. And from here, the money is given to different political parties. To BJP, it is given 60% of the money is given. To Congress, 30% money is given. To Communist Party of India, some 10% money is given. This is how money is sent. Okay. So why do you think this kind of a setup could have been brought in? Just think and tell me. You are putting all the money into this electoral trust and you are sending it to respective parties. Okay. Why do you think this kind of a concept could have actually originated in the first place? Any idea why the system could have, for level playing field? No, no, no. Even here, money can be given to BJP in more amounts. That is not an issue. Any other answers for this? Okay. So, so that political parties could encourage the corporates are safeguarded. That is the very correct answer. Yes, corporates are safeguarded. So basically, instead of giving through electoral trust, what otherwise could have happened? The corporates must go and individually contribute to BJP, individually contribute to INC, right? So then the individual contributions become known public. Individual contributions are either known to the BJP or known to the Congress. So because of that, corporates started getting sidelined. For example, if Tata donates to INC more amount, finally BJP comes to power. They come to know that okay, you have given more money to Congress, then it's a very miserable time for the Tata group for the next 5 years. It is to ensure that corporates need not be scared of political parties. Okay, it is for that purpose alone this concept called as electoral trust was brought in. So now if this trust is going to make donation to political parties, even 60% to BJP, nobody can actually question as Tata being partisan in nature, because every industrial group in this country has actually donated to this particular electoral trust, and it is the decision of this electoral trust to decide how much money should be given to how many parties. So you cannot actually directly uh, take revenge on the corporates that they were actually towards a particular party. So it was with this idea in mind, this concept called as electoral trust was actually brought out. Okay, so this was a very prominent route of funding for elections until recently. But once electoral bonds has now, since 2017, when electoral bonds scheme was launched, even now also we have this electoral trust. But electoral trust no longer is finding any takers. People are not interested in donating to electoral trust, but they are choosing the electoral bonds route. What does it actually signify? Hmm? What is the significance of this shift? Corporates are preferring electoral bonds rather than electoral trust. What is the uh, what is the message that you get because of this kind of a preference of corporates? What is that you learn to get? Yes, it is very clear. Corporates are happy to be associated with the ruling party. Yes, corporates are not scared of sidelining because they know that it is only BJP which will come again and again to power. So they don't have any problem in funding to BJP directly. It means that it's a very dangerous trend. They are not scared of the opposition party, which clearly means that corporates are favoring one party. It's becoming crony capitalism. It is actually, it's a very clear case of crony capitalism. Okay, so this is what is given in that editorial, in that article which I have shared with you yesterday. So you have this concept called as electoral trust. The contribution of electoral trust is waning these days. Electoral bonds is the most preferred route for corporate funding these days. Okay, and they want to benefit out of donation. Okay, all right. So we'll look into the next topic. The next topic is with respect to simultaneous elections. So this is often in the news. Now and then suddenly BJP, RSS, they start shouting that we need simultaneous elections in the country for no reason. Just because Corona is there for the last 1.5 years, we don't hear these kind of noises from BJP or the RSS. But otherwise, simultaneous election was a part of BJP's manifesto in 2014. Once we come to power, we will make sure simultaneous elections become a reality. Okay. So what is this concept called as simultaneous elections? Simultaneous elections to what? So the BJP's idea was is that we don't have to go for frequent elections for state legislatures to parliament, Lok Sabha all the time. Instead, we'll time it in such a way that for Lok Sabha as well as all state legislative assemblies, we will have a synchronized election. Okay, so this is the idea. Yeah, it can also be called as one nation, one election. So that is also one informal way of describing this proposal of the ruling party. So why do you think the party? Why do you think? So I'll tell you the timeline. Once BJP came out with its manifesto, there is a very good document for studying about this also. You just have to search in the internet. Simultaneous elections, issues and challenges, ADR, Association for Democratic Reforms, right? Simultaneous elections, issues and challenges, ADR. Just type it like that. You can get a 20-25 pages document. Never be worried about the size of the document. There are documents which will be only 2 pages, but you can never learn anything out of it. There are documents which are for 200 pages, which can be learned in one day. Okay, so when I say read documents, and now I'm suggesting a document 25 pages, then you might think that 25 pages for one topic, which may not even be asked in the examination. Why is sir asking me to waste my time? I'm not asking to waste my time. I'm suggesting this so as to learn how to write an answer, so as to uh, build some perspectives. So, yeah. Uh, yeah, so we are discussing about simultaneous elections, right? Okay, before that, let me ask you a question. What books are you reading for history, for modern India? What book? What is the book that you're referring? Yeah, the name of the document. Okay, I'll even search it for you, and I'll help you with that. Well, I'm not able to locate that, but it was a very good document which I had read earlier. Well, I'm not really able to locate that particular document, but there are other documents of ADR. I think these other documents also. Just search in internet. Simultaneous elections, one nation. Yeah, I can even search it like this: one nation, one election, ADR. Okay, fine. I'm not able to search that exact document, but there are so many other documents also available. It is up to you. You can search whatever you want. You feel like browsing, and you can learn it. Yeah, yeah. Somebody has shared a document. Let me see if that is it. No, 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 not this one, not this one. This one I have also got it. Um, or maybe I can share it with one of you. One of you can just send a mail to me. Okay, I'll share it with you, and you can. Do you have a common group or something with which you guys keep interacting with something like that? Yes, you have a common group amongst yourself, so that if I send it to one, yes. So one of you just drop a mail, and I'll just forward it to you. You can share it with others. Okay. So that's a very beautiful piece on simultaneous elections. Okay. But anyway, we'll continue with the class. So, yeah. Yes, you have your for history, you follow both Spectrum as well as you follow Vipin Chandra also. Yeah. But which one out of the two is actually interesting? So, since you guys have read Spectrum and Bipin Chandra, which is actually interesting? In which book do you feel like you have actually learned something about history? Hmm? Okay. So there's one answer for Spectrum and three answers, responses for Bipin Chandra. Yeah. So in my personal favorite would be Bipin Chandra because it is actually written by a proper historian. So those who find Spectrum interesting, I don't know what you learn out of it, but maybe you learn facts, but you would not get the historical approach, historical way of looking at things. So, but Bipin Chandra might appear to be bigger in size. It might appear to be a continuous text with no head, subheadings or headings or anything. But but that's a standard textbook, right? So similarly, you have so many PDFs in the internet which might be bulky, but it can make your learning easy and interesting. Okay. Anyway, so simultaneous elections. BJP's manifesto said once we come to power, both elections will be synchronized, parliament as well as state legislatures. And as soon as BJP came to power, it set up a body called as Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog was set up as a think tank for the government. So immediately Niti Aayog started thinking about the utility of simultaneous elections. Okay, Niti Aayog started thinking about the utility. I don't know which screen is being shared with you guys now. Okay, it's a whiteboard. Okay. So, and Niti Aayog came up with a working paper. It came up with a paper uh, admiring, hailing why simultaneous election is such a wonderful idea, and we have to proceed further with that idea. We should not lose no time in giving effect to simultaneous elections. So, Niti Aayog was full of praise for BJP's idea of simultaneous elections. Okay, and it gave a lot of support. It gave a lot of factual analysis. It said it came up with reasoning about why simultaneous elections are needed. So to oppose and counter that narrative, this civil society organization called as ADR, Association for Democratic Reforms, that came out with a document countering each and every fact put forward by Niti Aayog in claiming that simultaneous election is a welcome step. Okay, so we look into both sides of the argument. So to begin with, why do you think simultaneous elections can be favored? Okay, why do you think simultaneous elections would be supported? Any idea? Hmm? Cost effective. Okay. Why do you think it is cost effective? Well, how can it be cost effective? Tell me how, in what manner do you think it is cost effective? Okay. So one argument is that it can reduce the cost of elections. Akash, please type to the other chat box, okay? Not to this chat box. Please type to the other ID. No need to spend huge money for each election conducted every year. Okay, okay, that's correct. Right. And any other opinion in favor of simultaneous elections with respect to reducing the cost? How do you think it reduces the cost? What cost are we talking about? No need to spend huge money for each election conducted every year. I'm not able to get your idea. What do you mean by each election conducted every year? See, Tamil Nadu goes to election in 2021. Maybe Karnataka might go for election in 2022. So if you are spending 100 crores on Tamil Nadu election and if you are spending Karnataka 100 crore, that even if you hold election of Karnataka in 2021, you have to anyway spend this 100 crore, right? So what do you mean by it reduces the cost of elections? What do you mean by that? I'm not able to understand that. Central ruling government may year after year involve in processions instead focusing on development. Okay, yes, this is definitely one narrative put forward. So the narrative is that government can focus on development work rather than campaigns. Instead of Modi going and roaming around all parts of country canvassing for Suvendu Adhikari, Modi is coming all the way to Darapuram to campaign for L Murugan, as if he does not have any other work during COVID, right? So government is saying, Niti Aayog is saying, let Modi and his group do their work instead of going and campaigning for elections. So because of that, we need to actually adopt simultaneous elections. Okay, of course, this is one narrative. What is other one? No need to spend huge money for each election conduct. Okay, well, time is saved and policy making is stabilized. A state government and union government are formed at the same time. Okay, all right. It focuses on governance instead of being constantly in election mode. Yes, that is this idea, of course. Anything else? Anything else that is in favor of? So tell me, what is your thought on how can simultaneous elections reduce the cost of elections? Where is this idea coming from? I hope you got this example. Anyway, the cost of elections has to be incurred, right? So there is no talk of reducing the cost of elections. What do we then? How do we understand as if the cost of elections will be reduced? How is that even possible? Central ruling government, okay. It focus on governance, involve parliamentary efficiency as the opposition will be more constructive and cooperative. Well, okay. Can you please explain what you mean by opposition being more constructive? How is that possible? It would free crucial manpower, which is often deployed for prolonged periods on election duties. That is very wonderful answer. That is also definitely another point which is brought out in favor of simultaneous elections. The other point that is put forward is ECI takes government machinery. ECI does not have a machinery of its own. What it does is it takes the entire district machinery, correct? District bureaucracy, starting from collector, sub-collector, tahsildar, BDO, everybody is posted on election duties. Because of which, once election, not even before election is announced, the minute when elections are around the corner for the 6 months before elections, entire other development activities, everything almost comes to a halt because every officer is involved in training, giving training to the booth level officers. They are involved in sanitizing the electoral roll, revising the electoral roll, in commissioning of EVMs. Too much of election related work will go on, because of which because of which development and other activities tend to get affected. So we should not allow this to happen. So this tends to keep on happening if you have more and more elections, because you see Tamil Nadu 2019 you have parliamentary elections, 2021 you have state elections, then you will have by elections, then you have panchayat elections. So if continuously if you are in election mode, then where is the time to do other work? This is one argument that is put forward by Niti Aayog in favor of BJP's idea of simultaneous elections. Okay, what else? Hmm? Anything else? See, can strengthen federalism and stability. Okay, why you, these are these kind of general vague points? No, please understand, almost every aspirant will be writing such points. Maybe you can write it as your last point if you're running out of points. I don't have anything else to write, so just write some general points so as to fill the pages, but cannot actually really fetch good marks if it is too general all the time, so give me some specific points. Apart from that, what can be done? Apart from that, what are the other benefits? The other benefit is with respect to security forces. Because of in 2019, CRPF, so many battalions, and you know what? In each district, not in each district, a district, let's say Vellore, district, you have a Vellore district. You will have so many centers. Maybe there may be five different centers in Vellore district where the EVMs will all be stored, because you cannot actually have one single point of storing the entire EVM for a parliamentary constituency. Okay, you'll have decentralized manner. You'll be storing the EVMs in each places where EVMs are stored. after polling, EVMs are stored, right? Once the polling, once polling is over, after that, the state police will not be given the responsibility of guarding these EVMs because you cannot trust the state police. That is why central police forces will be sent, and three levels of security will be provided. Okay, three levels of security will be provided, and for that, at least one company of CAPF will be required. One company is almost 100 soldiers, and then a commanding officer. So in one district, you can see 500 personnel might be required. So you compare it to a state, how many security personnel are required? Who are these people? Who are these security personnel? They are the ones who are supposed to be engaged in counterinsurgency operations. They are the personnel who are supposed to be engaged in border security work. BSF is also involved in these kind of work. So it becomes unnecessary when, because of continuously holding elections in 2019, because of parliamentary elections, so many soldiers of CAPF have to come to Tamil Nadu. Then once again in 2021, the CAPF should once again come back here. Then slowly the CAPF people will lose touch with counterinsurgency. They are only capable of guarding EVMs, but that is not the purpose for which Central Police Force was actually recruited for, right? The specialized kind of training that is all imparted to them, it is to engage with Naxals. It is not to safeguard idle EVMs which are already in a locked room, which are just sitting there. So don't waste the potential of security forces by engaging them in security duties. This is also another argument that is put forward by Niti Aayog. If you have simultaneous elections, CAPF will come only once in 2019. After that, they will never come. After 5 years, they will come in 2024. In this gap of 5 years, they can actually happily counterinsurgency actions. This is another argument. Simultaneous elections bring states on par with center. If the elections are to be held once in 5 years, the elected state governments cannot be dismissed easily. This reduces the anomalies created of the Indian constitution, hence it strengthens federalism. Okay. Okay, I understand. That's a good point. You have thought on some lines. So what Vignesh is saying is to bring simultaneous elections. See, and to answer to the earlier point, when somebody had Maheshwar, I think he has pointed out, simultaneous elections can reduce cost of elections. So you have not explained to me how is this possible? How is the cost reduced? Tell me. When you said simultaneous elections can reduce the cost of elections, how is that possible? Because anyway, in 2022, Karnataka elections will happen. So you are just preponing it to 2021. So you are holding Tamil Nadu, Karnataka. So same manpower will be required for Karnataka also. Same number of boleros have to be recruited to transport your polling staff. All that is the same. But so in what way do you think the cost is actually getting reduced? The answer is there in Vignesh's answer. The answer is simultaneous elections is not a possibility as of now. Why is it not a possibility? Is it constitutionally possible? Simultaneous elections? Is it constitutionally possible? It is not possible because the constitution says the tenure is 5 years, but it can be dissolved at any instance before that also. And how does it happen? When a no confidence motion is passed against a chief minister. In that case, no alternative is available. If that is the case, House will be dissolved and Article 356 emergency will be imposed and elections will be held and a fresh time life will start. All these provisions now have to be changed. President's rule has to be changed. The constitutional provision that talks about the duration of the houses, which allows for earlier dissolution, that has to be changed. Correct? So many changes have to be introduced. So when you introduce these changes, what is the outcome? The outcome is you are assuring a tenure of 5 years. Okay, it is only after 5 years elections can even be held. So it means that, so as of now, even within this 5 year time period, can you not hold n number of elections? Yes, every 6 months, once one a political party falls down, next 6 months a government falls down, next 6 months one government falls down. You keep on holding elections, right? Is it possible or is it not possible as of now? You can hold repeated elections within that 5-year time period, correct? So if you were to hold, and the estimate of and if you were to see the estimate of one state elections, state legislature elections, at least 1,000 crore money will have to be spent for a state elections. So if you keep on holding such kind of elections again and again, it is going to cost too much of wastage of money. So instead, you hold only election every 5 years once. So all this expenses that is happening in between because of repeated elections, all this money can be saved. This is the idea. Okay, the idea is don't allow dissolution of the house. If you don't allow dissolution of the house to happen, then in the in between period, you will not have the need to go for fresh elections. If you don't have the need to go for fresh elections, of course, you can save a lot of money. This is the idea behind simultaneous elections. This is the argument that is being put forward. But do you think this is correct argument? So, of course, I understand you are gaining stability. I understand that. You are reducing the cost of elections. I understand that. But what are you losing because of this? Okay, sir, I said cost effective because my mainstorming key answer from Shankar IAS Academy has reduced expenditure rate when I attended mains practice test. I don't know why you have to always quote some external sources. When you said you want to write in points, you said history sir told that. When you said your cost of elections is reducing, you're saying mains answer key of Shankar Academy says that. I want your opinion. I want what you think. Okay. So, okay, let it be that Shankar Academy's key gives you a point like reduce expenditure. But have you not thought about how can it reduce the expenditure? Did you give a thought to it? See, you have to own up a lot of things. You have to become responsible for what you say and what you speak, right? You cannot always go about in your life quoting others. So they said that, this source said that. No, it is you who have to, your words is your words. Okay. So it's okay, even if you found that in the Shankar key, but have you ever given a thought? Have you ever given a thought about how it can reduce the expenditure? Yes, the correct answer. What are we losing by gaining stability and reduced expenditure? We are losing accountability, which is the hallmark of parliamentary democracy. Correct? So, don't you think our founding fathers of the Constitution had not given a thought to it? Did I not tell you that during the time of commencement of the Constitution, they had a lot of ideas in their mind. One is, should we go for presidential system or should we go for a parliamentary setup? Correct? And what was the choice that they consciously made? Our founding fathers of the Constitution, what was the choice that they made? They went for parliamentary setup. They clearly knew that presidential setup presidential setup has more swiftness in decision making. It's a single man decision. It's not a decision that has to be taken with the consensus of the council of ministers all the time. They were clearly aware of the fact that presidential system is more responsive to the needs of the society. In spite of that, they went for parliamentary setup even after knowing that it is a slower process. It involves taking everybody on board. It involves taking the council of ministers into confidence when each and every decision has to be taken. Every single day the government is at the risk of falling down. Correct? Because every single day when the parliament meets, a no confidence motion can be passed. So, despite all that, it was a conscious choice made by the constitution makers that they preferred accountability over stability, right? And in Keshavananda Bharati judgment, the Supreme Court itself has reiterated it again. Parliamentary form of government is the basic structure of the constitution. So, what argument, what use is it to argue in favor of stability over accountability? Because that was not what was the desire of the constitution makers. They had preferred accountability. The idea was to prevent the government from doing anything bad instead of empowering the government to do anything good for the people. That is the idea behind the way Indian political setup is based upon. Okay, it is because of our experience of colonial raj, colonial rule. The objective is executive. Even if it does not do anything good for the people, it's okay. India can survive. It should only be prevented from doing bad for the people. That's the idea behind the way why we had chosen parliamentary form of government. So now, where is this talk coming out? Why are you negating the importance given to the accountability by saying that we can have a more stable government? Okay, so so this is a counter argument to negate the argument that is put forward by the proponents of simultaneous elections, that stability is more achieved. Okay, this is one. So this ADR had actually, I'm not getting that paper. If someone can mail me, I'll definitely share it with you. You go through it, and they would have actually made an estimate. ADR is a very good organization. They made estimates, and they found out the cost per capita, cost per person for 5 years. Okay, you mailed it. Oh, mailed. Okay, I'll send to Maheshwar, and you can all get it from him. So, cost per person for 5 years. Let's say a Lok Sabha election is held from 2019 to 2024. The total expense that is incurred by Election Commission of India, in its own estimates, it said that I have spent 5,000 crores. You divide 5,000 crore by 1 crore people, 100 crore people. Okay, 5,000 by 100. How much is it coming? 50. Yeah, almost 50 rupees per person is this is all a calculation that is made by ADR from the estimates that are revealed by Election Commission of India. ECI's revelation is that it has spent 5,000 crore for the last parliamentary general elections. Out of that, when you divide by the total population, how much is the amount, how much is the burden on the taxpayer? 50 rupees per person for a period of 5 years to have a very robust functioning democracy. So what would you prefer? Would you prefer a healthy democracy, or would you prefer a cheaper democracy? You tell me. So yes, of course, you can save 50 rupees from each taxpayer's burden, no doubt about that. But ADR is raising this question. Is it at this point of time in a country like India, should we go for a cheaper democracy, or should we go for a functional and a healthy democracy? Democracy is healthy only when it is kept alive, only when accountability is enforced periodically, right? So you get these kind of perspectives by reading those documents. Okay, so that when you get such kind of questions in the exam, when you write this estimates and all these things, your answer will definitely stand out. My focus on teaching you is basically to prepare you for mains. Okay, I really do not think there is much to be taught about prelims. So if you learn how to prepare for mains, you will automatically clear prelims. There is no problem about that. So you try to come out these kind of, so mains is all about prior anticipation and preparation. You should just think about what all could be asked, and you have to just make a answer, make some relevant facts. You have a database from which you will have to cherry pick some data, facts, statistics, and put it in the answer, sprinkle it here and there, and make your answer look as if it is a very professional answer. That is the trick of the trade. Okay. Okay, so this is one argument about cheaper elections, which can be countered by actual data from by ADR, and this is the counter argument for reduction in the expenditure. Okay, all right. So what next? The next argument, yeah, another argument is also put forward by Niti Aayog in its working paper. What it says is another very flimsy argument. The argument is, because of frequent elections, okay, because of frequent elections, caste and communal polarization happens. Whenever Yogi Adityanath has to go to a particular place, or Tejasvi Surya goes to a particular place for elections, immediately they start talking about Pakistan, Muslims, and all those issues. So because of which polarization of people happen. So it's like a wound trying to heal. Before it heals, the next elections come where somebody has to come, and once again they have to pry open the wound. You're not allowing the wound to heal at all. So instead, allow them to heal. So what it says is, Niti Aayog says, by not having frequent elections, you can prevent this caste and communal polarization. Okay, this is like saying, if you speak such bad and polarizing statements once in 5 years, it is okay, but don't keep on speaking repeatedly. Correct. So how can So instead, why not the political parties realize what needs to be spoken and what need not be spoken? So this kind of an argument, if it is given by an organization like Niti Aayog, that frequent polarization must not happen, sparse, well spaced out polarization is fine. This is how actually Niti Aayog's paper actually puts forward, right? So this is also one other argument that is put forward by Niti Aayog. You can use any of your logic and you can counter the narrative. Cost is increasing for each election because every election in a year, campaign expenditure is increasing. And campaigning has went to digital mode, and various bodies have come like Cambridge Analytica to support political parties, and rise in number of candidates leads to candidates spending more money for elections. So one nation, one election can be solution as far as I read in media. You are right. The Prime Minister in his own speech has admitted that for the last parliamentary election, BJP candidates have spent a total of 30,000 crores for their electoral purposes. Okay, so how did I get this data? 30,000 crore. It is there in that ADR document. If you go through it, you will also find this. Prime Minister himself is saying in a speech that 30,000 crore was spent by BJP candidates for the last parliamentary elections. 30,000 crore is definitely much higher than the permissible limit of 77 lakhs. You take 30,000 crore and you divide by, even by 500 MPs, you divide it, it will be around 60 crores or something. Okay, so yeah, something like that. So if such a thing happens, why are you exceeding the limits? But what is the guarantee that when you hold fewer elections, what is the guarantee that money will not be spent? The same amount of so what is the guarantee that just by going for fewer number of elections, maybe you will, instead of giving it in 5 installments, you will give it in the form of one installment itself, in one lump sum amount you will be transferring it, right? So anyway, who is asking the political parties to even spend the 77 lakh? First of all, the law has prescribed the limit as 77 lakhs. So you want to spend more money, the fault is on you. Your political party, your own candidates are spending more than the prescribed amount, and finally you say that by doing simultaneous elections we can reduce them in play of money. Why don't you yourself give a direction to your party members? Don't spend money. We will fight elections within the stipulated election limit. Hmm? These are like uh, these kind of suggestions are like not addressing the core of the problem. The core of the problem is the attitude to win. By any means, by crook or nook, I will have to win elections. So that kind of an attitude cannot be changed by reducing the number of elections. Just give me a minute. So yeah, we are discussing about it. See, Maheshwar's point is correct point. I am just giving you a counter narrative. I am not saying my answer is the right answer. So why are we discussing all this? Why are we discussing all this? Is it to find out what is the absolute truth? Are we in some kind of a investigative committee? Is that what we are doing, to find out which is the truth of the argument, of the discussion? Or what is it that we are actually doing right now? Why are we discussing both sides? I'm not saying Maheshwar's point is wrong. Yes, to enrich more points for pros and cons. These are all issues on the gray scale. These are issues for which there are no clear-cut solutions. Just like how you don't have a clear-cut solution for what can be done about anti-defection law. Just like that, we are here to find out more and more points which you can make use of to strengthen your argument. It depends on the question. If the question is asked about simultaneous elections can go a long way in reducing the cost of elections, discuss. If it is given discuss, you have to accept the truth of that statement. Your entire answer should support the statement more and more. If it is critically examined, you can bring in both sides. If, say, for example, if the question is asking you to support that statement by asking you to discuss as a directive, you have to only take the stand of Maheshwar and you have to say, yes, it can reduce the expenditure. So what points he is saying is also correct, because these are all questions for which there are no clear cut answers. It is only when it is tried out All the answers now are hypothetical. It is only if it is actually implemented and adapted, only then we will come to know what is the reality. Unless then, until then, everything is theoretical, right? But still, we have to discuss about it. Just get to know about the arguments so that you can write in the exam and you can manage the answer. Okay. So yes. So this is my counter narrative for saying that the cost of elections is increasing, and by having lesser elections, we can reduce the expenditure. Well, not really. By having lesser expenditures, you will be giving the money to the voters in one tranche instead of giving it in two tranche. Otherwise, political parties' calculation is this: okay, this time we'll give them 2,000 anyway. In the next year, state elections are coming anyway. We'll have to give them 1,000 rupees. So that is how they calculate actually. If they have only one elections, they will try to give the 3,000 to the voter because they know that the other party will definitely be ready to do that. So this is not going to change just by having a lesser number of elections. Okay. Okay. The other argument that is put forward is it can relieve the government, it can relieve the government machinery from election duties. Okay. And since the model code of conduct also kicks in, no new government schemes are, so everything comes to a halt. Okay. Model code of conduct comes, so because of which government machinery stops its functions. All these kind of arguments are also given to support simultaneous elections, because in 2019, once general elections happened, for 6 months before that, government is dysfunctional. Then once again in 2021 parliamentary elections, government is dysfunctional. Panchayat elections, municipal elections, again, no schemes benefiting a panchayats or municipality, such kind of things should not be announced by the state government. So that is also dysfunctional. So you have periods where government machinery actually stops proper execution of the schemes. So reduce all these periods of inactivity, only this one period of inactivity. Apart from that, every other time the government must actually do their work. This is the idea. Okay. But is this claim correct? Is this claim even correct? How will you negate this claim? What would be your idea to counteract this point of view? Just give me a minute. Okay, government machinery will be overburdened, and because of which reduce efficiency in conducting elections. Well, you are claiming that once model code of conduct comes into effect, we are not able to take forward any development agenda, right? Why are you focusing only on, and moreover, when you see the model code of conduct does not prevent the government from doing its own work. There is nothing that prevents the government machinery from carrying out its activities. Only condition is no new government schemes must be announced. Already there are hundreds of government schemes which, if properly implemented, can benefit people in a lot of ways. You just cannot announce new government schemes alone cannot be announced. It's no restriction or no bar for already existing government schemes to be properly implemented. And so the claim that being frequently in elections, the machinery has to abide by the model code of conduct, that argument is dubious. It is not strong argument, because as I told you, it applies only for new schemes, not for the existing schemes. We have so many existing schemes which can actually be implemented without any disruptions, whether it is single election or election every year. And moreover, government don't need to wait till last minute. That's a very correct idea. Why are you waiting till the last minute to announce new schemes? Why do you have to announce? You had four years of your tenure. Why did you not announce before the 4 years? It is only when the elections are around the corner you have to announce new schemes. So yes, that can also be a very valid criticism against this particular argument. The other argument, as I told you, is that with respect to security forces constantly being occupied with EVM guarding duties. So tell me, what can be the counter argument for this? What can be the counter argument for saying security forces must be involved in counterinsurgency, don't involve them in election related work? Why is the flaw, and where is the solution for that? As I told you, why are security forces employed in the first place? The number of security forces can be increased by high recruitment. Well, yeah, that can be done, of course. But I'm saying even with the present existing security forces, a lot of them can be relieved if state police can be employed in such duties. That's a correct answer. So, what is the problem in employing state police for election duties? Because the state police force is a very, very politicized police force. That is where the problem lies. In many instances, do you know in actual elections, many times the best means of transporting money to be distributed for voters is actually state police vehicles, because lower level officials, inspectors, sub inspectors, they are all, at many times you will find them to be highly politicized, and you cannot expect the same amount of uprightness from an IPS officer that cannot be expected from state forces. Not all of them, but many of them tend to be politicized because they have risen from the lower levels, and many a times they have risen to the top ranks only because of patronage and not because of their efforts or merit or anything of that sort. It's because police structure is very, very pyramidical. The base is too big. As you go up, it's becoming narrower and narrower. So 90% of the police force is constables, 10% of all other people. So the promotional avenue of a constable becoming a sub inspector is very, 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 very remote. Okay, and a sub inspector rising up to become senior level officers is also very, very difficult. That is why more in most cases it is dependent on the political patronage that you enjoy to rise up in your career. So when the state police force is so much dependent, they become politicized automatically. Such a politicized police force cannot be expected to behave in an independent manner. But today, a lot of issues have been sorted out. These are all valid concerns. These are all valid concerns. Yes, yes, yes. So, but sir, even state police will involve in election duty, right? Yes, they will be involved. You are right. That is what I'm just about to talk about. During the time of ballot papers, your concern is correct. When we were using ballot papers, you cannot trust the state police force, because there are so many instances when state policemen, they themselves have poured kerosene into the room where ballot papers will be stored, and they will put fire onto that. Today everything is electronic, EVM machines, and EVM machines, if you once you get into the service, you'll come to know that EVM machines are fire retardant, they are waterproof, nothing can happen to these EVM machines, they are so robust. Okay, in this scenario you don't actually have to be very scared of police. CAPF coming all the way to guard a room where EVMs are stored. Okay, this will be they'll be guarding it until the elections are over in the other states. Like for example, in Tamil Nadu, our elections got over in, probably in May, April 6th or something. When was our election, state elections? After that, we were waiting almost for a month, April 6th, right? After that, we were waiting for almost 1 month, right? For the elections to get over in other states. 1 month, CAPF people will just come there, stand like statues around this room and do nothing else. For this work, you can even use the state police, because today you have CCTV cameras clearly installed with a lot of safeguards. You don't actually require CAPF in modern day after you have eliminated ballot papers, after you have switched over to EVMs. So it's high time CAPF are better stopped from being used for election duties, and state police force can be employed. Okay, because CAPF men are not involved in any other task. They are only there to guard this EVM room. Because other than that, for all other election duties, it is the state police force which is actually being used. When you can use state police force for all other purposes, then why use central force only for this purpose of guarding the EVM rooms? Okay, actually, this practice of using central forces, it started after these kind of mischiefs by the state police. So when I was holding elections, I conducted 2019 elections in Odisha. It was actually simultaneous election in Odisha at that point of time. Both parliament as well as state elections were conducted at the same time. So I was a returning officer for state assembly elections. So we were guarding all the EVMs, and also when we interact with the CAPF staff, so policemen, army men, so they say all interesting things. What used to happen in Kashmir. In Kashmir, in the room where the ballot papers were all stored, explosives will be placed by the ruling party, bomb will blast, and the machines will be damaged. Not ballot papers, even in case of EVMs also. So, so that is why there is a strong bias in favor of central forces guarding these rooms. So what you should do, you should give bomb detection kits. You give such kind of equipments to the police force, they can also do their work. So the answer lies in depoliticization of police force by carrying out the police reforms and by upgrading the capacity of the police force by providing them with modern equipments. If you do all these things, then automatically state police force are equipped enough to do these kind of guarding duties, for which they are actually recruited, and they are plentiful in number. Throughout this, during this entire, after elections is over, state police is jobless completely. Till then they are occupied. They are sizable in number. You have reserve police also in the district levels. So entire force becomes useless when it comes to this guarding purposes. So this is an unnecessary thing. It's high time CAPF is stop from being employed in these kind of work. Sir, but threats to cyberspace is increasing, and parties can use their cyber command to hack CCTV to rig elections. Uh, so what? Yeah, it is going on. So does it mean that your bank account can also be hacked? So does it mean that your mobile data can also be hacked and it can be displayed to the public about what all websites you're browsing, right? So see, these are general concerns. Of course, all these kind of concerns will apply to all your activities in your daily life, not just to elections. So I cannot accept the statement that cyberspace is increasing. So what can CAPF? Do you think CRPF Jawans can come and stop cyber threats from happening? Hmm? Do you think CRPF Jawans can? So why is this concept being discussed? But threats to cyberspace is increasing, and parties can use their cyber command to hack CCTV to rig elections. CCTV to rig elections. See, you cannot think everything on terms of Hollywood movies. Okay, what you see in the movies is not a technology which is accessible to anybody and everybody all the time. To just after all to rig one elections, and what do you mean by rigging elections? CCTV, and yeah. See, you have so many concerns about elections. Let me tell you. Let's say these EVMs are stored in a room, in a district strong room, right? You will have CCTV cameras. You have CCTV cameras which are observing the door all the time, 24/7, and it is being recorded for permanent record, right? So nothing can be done. So let's assume that you are saying that CCTV cameras is rigged and all these things. But let me also tell you, once elections are over, once the polling machines are voted, EVMs are all retained, it is kept here. Do you know what will happen? That administration will arrange a bed, a cot, bed, mattress, drinking water, a makeshift toilet, everything will be arranged. Do you know for whom these beds are all arranged? Hmm? Who will come and lie and sleep here? Why are we arranging beds just in front of this strong room? No, not for the police. No. You will have this first layer of security, second layer of security. For first layer of security, it is just around the entrance of the room. Second layer of security is around the premises. Third layer is 20 meters around the premises. This is how the security and everything is arranged. My question is, in the second layer, you will find these cots which will be laid out. Any idea why? For whose purpose? Is it for collector and sub-collector to come and take a nap? Hmm? No, not for technicians. It is, this facility is there for, not for CRPF. They have their own barracks where they can go and retire. Okay, board is gone. Can you see the board now? Oh yeah, you can see that. Okay. It is for the parties. Yes, polling agents. We will authorize the political parties will be asked to send their representatives. So in Tamil Nadu election, April 6 elections got over. And when was the counting? Was it in May 2nd? I think May 2 was the date of counting, right? For this entire 1 month, 24/7, the political parties people will be lying here, and their only duty is just to lie down and look at the door. They will not do anything else. So do you think by rigging the CCTV camera, if somebody comes in, somebody goes out, do you think these authorities guys will not know about it? Hmm? So don't worry. Don't worry. Your vote is all in safe hands. Okay. So if you want to imagine, you can keep on imagining all these things. But as of now, voting is pretty decent. It's going on well. So don't be scared. Your elections are really conducted in a decent manner, if not the best. So then you can ask me questions, sir. Then how about EVMs being seized from West Bengal elections? It was seized from one BJP party member's vehicle. EVM was found. Yes. Did you come across that news? Hmm? Yes or no? EVM machines were found in the backside of a BJP party workers' vehicle. So this can be the answer, because one of you had asked a question in the last classes when I said about the commissioning work, how it is done, how is the integrity of your elections maintained. One of you had asked this question to me. Then why are political parties like Seaman creating doubts and rumors in the minds of people? Yes, one of you had asked that. Let me tell you, they are also correct. Seaman is also right in raising suspicions. Okay, he's not wrong. He's also correct in raising suspicions, and I'll tell you how the problem happens. The problem does not happen intentionally because of a political party, or it does not happen by means of rigging the outcomes of the elections, and nothing like that. Seaman is just exaggerating, but there are always means, always ways of by which the election process uh, the integrity of the process can be affected. There is a scope, because human beings are involved. When human beings are involved, there is always a room for human error to creep in, right? I'll tell you an example how it used to happen and how I used to observe in my constituency. I told you in my in where I conducted elections, we had parliamentary elections, Lok Sabha elections, and state legislature elections happening simultaneously. So if this is a polling booth, okay, this is one polling booth. Do you know what is this? For conducting elections to state legislature, you have a party of 5 officials. Similarly, for Lok Sabha elections, you have five officials. So one presiding officer plus 3 polling officer plus 1 police constable, PC. Same is the case here. So these five, this is called as one polling party. This polling party will be given one EVM set, that is one BU, one CU, one VVPAT. Everything has a serial number to it. Everything is tagged. We maintain it in a separate portal of election commission. Every data is fed into that. So when commissioning takes place, we will place did I tell you what is the commissioning process? When commissioning happens, the list of candidates is placed in the ballot unit, software is fed into the control unit, software is fed into the VVPAT, and all these 3 units are tagged with each other. Okay, the serial numbers are all tagged and it is uploaded in the software given by the Election Commission of India. Okay, so this polling party is given this EVM, and this polling party is also given this set of EVMs. And to send this, and this entire 10 people, we will be the administration. So as sub collector, what I used to do was, we had 220 polling booths all across my constituency. 220 polling booths, because in states like Odisha, the population is very sparse. It's not as dense as Tamil Nadu. So you'll have to create more number of polling booths. In Tamil Nadu, you can manage with 100 or 150 polling booths. In Odisha, you have to go for 300 polling booths also at times. You have more polling booths. So for this particular polling booth, what we do is we hire one Tata Winger, or you have this Jeep type of vehicles, no, where you can actually load some 10 people. Have you heard of this vehicle, Tata Trax? There is a vehicle called as Trax. You know that? Not Tata. I think it is Force Motors, Force Tracks. Do you know this vehicle? Have you seen the size of that vehicle? Or have you seen this vehicle called as Tata Winger? Have you seen this? The ones in which school children are all loaded and they're all sent, no? The same vehicle will be hired by the administration, and the entire 10 people will be loaded into the vehicle, and with 2 sets of EVMs. Somehow they will sit on each other's lap and they will be sent to the polling booth. But once they go to the polling booth, the polling officers are all very stressed. Okay, they're all very stressed with the way they have been treated by the district administration. Okay, they have been sitting in hot sun since morning, waiting for their turn to receive the EVMs. Too much of, and at times even fighting also happens, because the teacher now becomes very angry that First of all, he is least interested to do the election duty because it's unnecessary for him. If anything goes wrong, then his job itself is at risk. So he's least interested to do this work. He has already tried so many times to influence the administration by asking the MLA to call the sub collector and talk to him about not posting him for election duty. All such mechanisms have all failed. So he's like doubly irritated now. Okay. He comes to that spot and he tries to do his election duty. He's already very stressed. And in between, food is also may not be to his liking, even though the administration arranges food facility and all these things with a very meager budget that is being given by the election commission to conduct elections. But the officers might find the food is not of good quality, so they are very disturbed. So the minute they go to they, do you know what they're supposed to do? As soon as they go to the polling booth, okay, as soon as they go to the polling booth, do you know what are they supposed to do? They are given a kit. Okay, it's not that they will only carry the 3 EVM units. They are given so many materials. What is that? A big placard is given. Okay, that big placard about elections and displays and all these things. Then to set up, so many other boxes are all given. Yeah, multiple forms are given. Those forms are really confusing, really confusing. Okay, the kind of data that you're asked to fill in, I'm very sure most of the forms are not filled properly. They just write whatever comes to their mind. They just come after the elections, throw it in the face of the administration, and they just go away from that place. That is the mindset in which the entire activity happens. Because as I told you, they are not professionals. Teachers are there to teach children. They are not used to, if you have been doing the same work for 6 months, yes, then you will have an idea. They are given a training for 2 days about how to connect the EVM machines and all these things, and how to do mock polls. After that, what button to press to reset the counter, how to start it, how to put a seal on the machine. Okay, and once the process is over, how to take data entry from the machine and write it down. Very confusing. It's natural, right? If you're not having a repetitive hands-on experience, you will not be an expert on these matters. So, but anyway, what other option do we have to conduct elections? So they have to go and set up all these things. But in reality, when they go there, they feel when they go there, they feel like it's like an excursion. Okay, until now they are stressed, until now they are very angry, till they reach the booth. The minute they reach the booth, they feel very relaxed. They would want to relax even more. So what they do, some teachers with them, uh, this is not the situation in Tamil Nadu. I'm talking about the elections which I have faced in Odisha or West Bengal or those parts of areas where you have a lot of tribal population. And I was doing my elections in a tribal district, scheduled area basically. So most of the school teachers are all tribals. Even though they may be school teachers, they have not forgotten their tribal way of life. Drinking is a daily activity for those teachers. Okay, so they will have a bottle with them. So they go there, start drinking happily, and in the evening at 8 o'clock in the evening, the district administration makes a call to each and every presiding officer. 234 calls, 220 calls will be made to each presiding officer, asking him, is it all fine? Did you connect the machines? Are you able to connect it? Did you do the did you check whether the machines are all running properly? Is the battery condition fine? All that, because you need batteries for CU, control unit, and VVPAT, right? All that question is asked. The regular answer that we get from all the teachers is, all the presiding officers is, wonderful, sir. We are all set. Tomorrow we are going to hold elections perfectly. Thank you, sir. This is how they will answer. Okay. So we trust them. But in reality, what they will be doing is just drink, have a good time. And you know what will happen the next day? In this polling booth, this side is supposed to be for Lok Sabha election. This side is supposed to be for state legislative assembly elections. So a person, a common man, will come in. He will cast his vote here in this ballot box, in this EVM. He will go here, and yeah, he will go here, and there will be another ballot box. Press one button here, press one button here, exit outside. This is the system that needs to happen. But some cases, what actually happens is, because of drinking and all these things, they are not in the right state of mind. Next day morning, what they will do is, they will connect, this is ballot unit, here you have ballot unit, but what they will do is, they will connect this control unit here. The control unit of state legislative assembly elections will be connected with this ballot unit. Can you understand the consequence of what is now going to happen? Yes or no? So whatever vote is cast for candidate number 1, The voter, yeah, the voter thinks that he is casting for BJP candidate, but the vote is going for some other candidate. This is what will happen. So you may ask a question, sir, then we have political agents at the booth where mock polls will be conducted. They will be there to ensure that the voting happens properly. So will they not catch it at the right moment? Yes, this could be a valid question that you can ask. Did you get that doubt? Do we not have any other check? Because you know that there will be political agents, booth level agents sitting. I told you, right? On the day of the poll, the first thing in the morning is booth level agents will cast their vote and they will check for whether the machine is working fine, whether the vote cast for this party, mock poll and polling agents. But do you think the polling agents are such PhD holders? Hmm? Do you think the polling agents are actually as interested as the candidate who is contesting elections? The polling agents are the first guys who are the least interested to actually to observe this process. They are the ones who are angry for many reasons because they have been asked by the party to go and sit on the day of elections from morning till evening. They are actually not interested to do this work or anything. Yeah, sometimes polling agents will not even turn up. That is also correct. And even on the day of counting also, on the day of counting also, we say, let's say there are 220 booths where we have conducted elections. Yes, they are also not well versed. They have no idea about anything. Teachers are of this standard. Teachers are the ones who have studied, at least they have got some teacher training. Polling agents are complete tribals, not even have gone to school. They don't know anything, but they will be just be coming and sitting there. Okay, so that is what I'm trying to say is these problems are not there in Tamil Nadu and all. In Tamil Nadu and all, you will have different set of problems. Tamil Nadu polling happens much better because the quality of the teachers are of such quality. Educated, they are more interested to learn. If even if they don't understand how to operate this EVMs, they will sit and watch it on YouTube and how learn actually how to do it. The quality of administration in Tamil Nadu is definitely better. So that's how India is a different country. Okay, we have all kinds of places having different levels of awareness, education, and all these things. So in places like Odisha, you have to hold elections with these kind of manpower. You cannot expect for the give me the best manpower and only then I'll give you the results. You cannot say all those things. So, and you may even ask questions. So if such a kind of a issue is noticed even in my own constituency, we did find these kind of mismatches happening here and there. And the polling officer, he will conduct elections, presiding officer will conduct elections. By the time they come and submit the machines, they will tag all the units BU, CU, VVPAT, right? They will tag the units, they will tie rope, and they'll come and give it to us. When we will set up receiving counters. Receiving counters will have the serial numbers of BU, CU, VVPAT already tagged. We'll have a printout of that. We will keep it in hand. The minute a teacher comes and gives the machine, we will look whether it is matching or not. We know the booth number. Booth number has been given this particular series of machines. Once they return back, we'll verify. If it is mismatch, it's a clear indication that elections is vitiated. It has been it's a goof up, right? Things have gone wrong. What should be the correct process then? Tell me what should be the next process? If you find elections are completely done wrong in a very it has become a disaster there. What ideally should be the next process? Tell me what should happen next. Hmm? Re-election. Yes, you should go for re-election. But do you think in a state like Odisha it is possible for re-election? I'll tell you the reality. In Tamil Nadu, you can go for re-election. It did happen in Velachery, I think. We did go for re-election because of these kind of issues. Okay, but in places like Odisha, you cannot go for re-election. Even to conduct election once is a risk for so much of people in my life. The place where I conducted election, two of my polling staff were killed during elections. They were killed by Naxals. I, the district where I was working completely Naxal affected. Naxals will give a boycott call during elections, and every year during elections, it is almost a case. At least one casualty will be there. When the polling party reaches the very inside, when the election polling parties they have to carry it. No motorable roads. All these. Tamil Nadu is different. Okay, you cannot sit in Tamil Nadu and think about how things are there in other parts of India. Motorable road itself is not there. The polling parties have to carry it in their by walk. They'll have to carry for a long distance. there was also one Bollywood movie also regarding this elections. Rajkumar Rao, he was the hero of that movie. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's about conducting elections in an Naxal affected constituency in Chhattisgarh. Yeah, Newton. Yeah, good. Have you seen that? Yeah, have you seen that movie, Newton? Yes. So that is the reality. Even though Rajkumar Rao was very adamant about transparent elections, in reality, teachers are not, the officers are not like that. Okay, they are not like that. Polling officers are not like that. They would want the first opportunity to just fly away from that place. So you cannot ask them to once again go and conduct elections. Then it will become a clear case of they will be definitely be targeted. Once you can go conduct something called as elections, and you have to come back because the law says that elections have to be conducted. Stepping into those areas again, you will definitely be assassinated by the Naxals. It's so you cannot actually hold elections. You even I used to have all these kind of doubts. What kind of election is this? Almost in at least out of 220 booths, we had 5 booths where these kind of problems were all there. Okay, but we have to just go on without holding re-elections because it is not possible to hold re-elections in many parts of India because that is what India is all about. Theoretically, it is all fine, but practically, it is not possible to work out like that. So yes, what I'm saying is, it is okay to have something called as a some. It is okay to have something resembling democracy, if not a perfect democracy. That's the idea with which you have to work in some parts of country. Okay. So yeah, when you have these kind of problems, definitely there is a room for human error. Why I'm discussing all these things is because I was asking a question: is the election process so integral? Right? The Seaman's accusations that elections are vitiated, we should switch back to ballot boxes, but that is not the right argument. Switching to ballot box is not the solution for the problems associated with conducting elections. EVMs is the best method to conduct elections, but since we have these kind of issues, it has to be filled, it has to be sorted out by proper training. Teachers must be identified who are capable, who are not capable. Those not capable should be given periodic training. Some punitive action should be taken against them. Yeah. The question is, what is the reason behind this West Bengal incident? Is it due to lack of awareness and seriousness of polling officers? Yes, seriousness of the polling officers is the issue. I was speaking to a batchmate in West Bengal about this issue. So he was mentioning about what happened. And I can also relate to an incident which happened in my case also. One of the polling party in my case, when we held elections, we were waiting until 11 o'clock. And mobile connectivity, all that is not even possible in many parts of Odisha. Okay, not even unthinkable. One of the polling party was not coming at all. We were waiting. Everybody else had come and they had submitted their EVMs. So it's time we have to close the strong room, seal it, and inform to the Election Commission of India about all the machines have returned back. One of them was not returning. Entire polling party was missing, even including the policemen. All of them are missing. We are really worried about what is happening. What is happening? Then we got a call from a press person, a media person gave a call and said that, sir, EVM is lying on the road. Can I bring it? Okay, then we told him, yeah, please bring it. Silently keep it in your vehicle and bring it. Okay, this is the kind of responsibility that many a times we will find in the case of polling officers. So you cannot, all human beings are not the same. They don't actually have any ownership over this process. Because I'll tell you, why are they like this? Why are they so non-serious? Do you know what is the salary of those government teachers in Odisha? 5,000 rupees. 5,000 rupees is the salary of maybe second polling officer and third polling officer will be given only 5,000 rupees as a salary. Maybe the presiding officer might be a regular government teacher getting 35,000 rupees as a salary. But other two officers, they are all ready to even lose their work because they are very, very dissatisfied with the kind of salary that they are actually receiving. It's all temporary positions. For 10 years, they are not even paid salary. That is called as honorarium. They are paid honorarium for 10 years. Assuming that they will be confirmed after 10 years, they are continuing to work on these meager salary. The minute you go and look at their dress, when you see them in the classes, you feel like very mood, all torn dresses, dirty dresses, and unshaved, completely hair is all messy. But he's the guy who will be imparting education to the children. But that is the standard which is available in some states. You cannot do anything about it. Anyway, as an IAS officer, it is not your duty to. It's not your duty to go and change these things. These things to be changed has the initiative has to come from the elected government, right? More budgetary allocation, some things can change here. Other than that, what can a field level officer do about these things? Nothing much. So anyway, yeah. So as I told you, lack of seriousness on the part of polling officers is the reason why these kind of allegations are cast upon the integrity of the election process itself. As if BJP has themselves taken the EVMs to their office and they have put votes and they are bringing it back. No, what has actually happened is because somebody had misplaced the EVMs, they have just while they were coming in the vehicle, what these guys will do is they will keep it in the backside of their van and it's this open type of jeeps, okay, open type of jeeps where they don't have this covering in the backside. They'll keep it in the backside and they will happily travel in very undulated roads. They will just travel with speed because they just want to reach as soon as possible, right? And while they are returning back, control unit has just fallen down and they don't even know that it has fallen down. They come back here and then they find the control unit has fallen down. Now they have become panicky, they come and inform the administration. So what can we do? If we have some, so then immediately I'll ask my BDO, block development officer of that particular area, do you have any contacts in that area who can safeguard the EVM? Immediately he will say, sir, yes sir, I have a politician of that area, he's a BJP panchayat samiti member, maybe his house is just in that locality only, I can ask him to search for it. This is exactly what happened in West Bengal also. Okay, so this is so of course you can say that how can this be allowed to happen? The officers are responsible for that. Of course, you are responsible, but you cannot stress upon this responsibility beyond a point in certain parts of India because institutions are yet to become strong in those areas, right? Anyway, so we are discussing so many things, but but never take a stand in the examination that we have to switch back to ballot boxes. EVMs are the best possible method that we have for conducting elections in India, right? Okay. So, well, we have more number of unemployment. Why won't we recruit people to exclusively work on execution of election and separate force? All these things, all these and all. India is a poor country, my friend. We don't actually have so much money. We have money only to pay salary for the existing employees. Even to recruit more people, it's not possible in with 10% of the people paying taxes, being the taxpayers, not possible. India, we don't have such kind of a financial muscle. Slowly it will develop, but as of now, you cannot have an exclusive workforce whose only work is conducting elections. No, the reason why teachers are recruited is because every village will have one primary school. It is because teachers are available plentiful in number. That is the reason why teachers are recruited. So imagine 220 polling booths in one constituency, 4 polling officers per booth. It means 850 polling officers are required in one constituency. Throughout the state, it might have some 200 constituencies. So 16,50,000, 1,65,000 teachers and other government servants, all of them are mobilized for one day's election work. This is the size of man management that is actually involved in an election. 1,65,000 workforce can you actually employ just for the purpose of recruit them, only for the purpose of holding elections? What will they do for the remaining period of time? So all that is not possible, and that is the reason why teachers are being recruited for this purpose. You just give them one more daily allowance, use them for election work, because it is not a repetitive work. You cannot create a separate manpower or agency for taking care of election work. This is the idea, right? All right, we'll move forward. Yeah, does simultaneous elections impact the voting percentage? Does it encourage the voters? All these are studies, or as I told you, these are also hypotheses. Just if you go for simultaneous elections, people will be coming out more eager to vote because they have both elections at the same time. They would not want to miss out on any of the elections. But whether it will work out or not, we have to see. But yeah, you can bring this in your answer also and say that of course it can increase the voter percentage. But there is also another concern with simultaneous elections. What is that concern? Another big concern is when you hold simultaneous elections, the voting pattern will be similar in both elections. People will be voting for the same party in both the elections, which is actually not the correct thing to do in a federal country like India. In a federal country like India, people vote for state elections keeping in mind local issues, their regional issues. People vote for parliamentary elections keeping in mind national issues. You cannot blur these issues, but that blurring of interests is actually what will happen if you have simultaneous elections, because that is a pattern which we have actually observed in various state polls. Whichever have gone for simultaneous elections, you find a similar kind of a pattern where mostly people would vote for the same political party in both the elections. So in Odisha, this is what clearly happens. People vote only for BJD here also, here also. They don't think about what is BJD's contribution in national politics. No, nothing. They will not think about all those things. Simultaneous elections means both will have the same party winning the elections, which is a clear, because voters are not really that interested in differentiating what is a regional interest, what is a national interest. They cannot think on all those lines. Okay, even educated people cannot think on all those lines. So this is also another problem with respect to simultaneous elections, which you can keep in your mind and which you can try to bring in your answers. Okay. All right. This is all about elections. You can browse further. You can read more and more issues. There is no end to issues in elections. Maybe you go through proposed electoral reforms. Whatever you find there, those issues you prepare for your examination. Okay. Is it possible to include one higher government official apart from teachers, probably for presiding officer post? No, it's not possible. We are already working. I'm just telling you the number of officers who are sent on election duty. Then the strong room for on the day of distribution, you will have to have so many government officers on the time of receiving back a government officers. Entire machinery will be occupied. You cannot spare a single person to for any other purposes. That's the reality. Okay. All right. So we'll move to the next topic. The next topic is with respect to tribunals. Tribunals, regulatory and quasi-judicial bodies. So we'll just have a study about them. So tribunals are what are called as quasi-judicial bodies. So why are they called as quasi-judicial bodies? Why is a body called as a quasi-judicial body? Can you give me an answer? These are not judicial bodies, but they're called as quasi-judicial, not binding. No, 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 no. Decision of the tribunals are binding. So you cannot say that the decision is not binding or anything. Any answers? Why is it called as a quasi-judicial body? They may have experts other than judges. That's very correct. Basically, you have non-judicial members doing a judicial work. That is why it's called as a quasi-judicial body. If it's a judicial work, the judgments are binding. It has the tribunals have the power of the courts, but only difference is it is manned by non-judicial members. It is manned by experts of various domains. It can also have judicial members, but but membership of tribunals is not exclusively limited to judiciary alone. That is what it means. Okay, so I'll just briefly explain to you about the need for tribunals in India. Why do we require tribunals? Why tribunals came into existence? Well, as you know, the higher judiciary in India is overburdened with, yeah, to relieve the burden on the courts. That's very correct. Firstly, high courts and supreme courts. This is the higher judiciary, and you have lower courts, right? So whatever decision is, whatever judgment is delivered in the lower court, everybody goes on an appeal to the high court. If you have money, you can go on further appeal to even to Supreme Court. So even petty issues like motor vehicles, accident claims, right, and service matters. A clerk is dismissed by the collector. These are service matters. A collector, an IAS officer is punished for for some issue by superior authority, or the president has compulsorily retired corrupt IRS officers. So these kind of things. compulsory retirement has been given to a few officers because their service record is not so good. All these are service related issues. These kind of issues often end up to the level of Supreme Court and High Courts. They clog the available time of Supreme Court and High Court. But the principle is High Court and Supreme Courts, though they are courts of appeal, they are courts that are having judges who are so learned in law, whose time and expertise must be used so as to adjudicate constitutional matters, not these kind of regular matters. They are very good learned people in law, so why waste their time and why waste their experience adjudicating these kind of simple issues? If you have a constitutional matter about interpretation of the constitution, then you use their expertise, it is okay. So that is why various bodies have gone into this pendency of cases in the higher levels of courts. They have all suggested for an alternative mechanism to deal with certain kinds of cases. Okay, I'll tell you some of the bodies. The first body was something called as Shark Committee. What is this is also called as High Court's Arrear Committee. Okay, what is the purpose of this committee? Justice A.P. Shaw was a judge of Supreme Court. So under his chairmanship, a committee was formed. The purpose of the committee is to study about what are the reasons for pendency of cases in the High Court level. And the committee suggested that it went and it said more than 70% of the cases are matters relating to service matters, motor vehicles accidents, and rent related issues. These are the type of cases that are occupying the bulk of the cases in the levels of high courts. So we have to come up with a mechanism so as to exclusively deal with these matters. If you remove them from the jurisdiction of the high court, you can save up the entire time of the high court. And a recommendation given by Shah committee. And then you had another committee which was formed to have a relook at the constitution itself by Indira Gandhi once she came to power. Do you know what is the name of the committee? You are aware of that committee. You just have to think and tell me. A committee was formed by Indira Gandhi to have a complete relook at the constitution itself. What was the name of that committee? No. Sarkaria is for studying center-state relations. But there was a committee which was formed to relook. Tell me, what was the time period in which Indira Gandhi would be so crazy just to even think that constitution itself has to be changed? When do you think that could be the time Indira Gandhi would have done that? 70s, exactly. And that too after her tremendous win in the elections, yeah, during emergency, all those times, correct. So do you know when was fundamental duties added to the constitution? When was fundamental duties added to the constitution? A very landmark constitutional amendment added the chapter on fundamental duties to the constitution. 42nd, yes. Swaran Singh committee is the answer for that. Swaran Singh committee was formed to completely have a relook at the constitution so as to change the constitution itself. Did I not discuss this with you when I discussed about 24th and 25th Constitutional Amendment Act? Once this act was passed, this went to the judiciary for its review. Okay. And before this, Indira Gandhi, and why was 24th and 25th Amendment Act passed? It was to, can someone tell me, remember 24th and 25th Amendment Act was passed as a retaliation to a court judgment. What was the court judgment? Which was instrumental in shaping the basic structure of the constitution, because of which, to nullify the impact of the judgment, 24th and 25th Amendment Acts were passed. Tell me what were those court judgments? What was that court judgment? Landmark judgment? Correct. Golaknath judgment. Correct. To undo this, because Golaknath judgment said fundamental rights cannot be amended. So 25th Amendment was brought. It said fundamental rights can be amended. Indira Gandhi immediately dissolved. She asked the president to dissolve the house. She went and faced the people. Her manifesto was that if I come to power, I'll make sure the entire constitution is changed. It becomes socialist completely. And people gave her an to the constitution. And for that purpose, she appointed a committee called the Swaran Singh Committee. The purpose of Swaran Singh Committee is to look into the provisions of the constitution to suggest all those changes that are required to make the constitution more responsive. So Swaran Singh Committee also highlighted the fact that high courts and supreme courts are suffering from too much of service related matters. Okay. And it was also during the time of emergency also, and emergency, lot of strong harsh actions were taken against government servants, a lot of them who were considered to not be sympathizing with the Congress party, many of them uh, with a link to the Communist Party and all, they were all taken to task and they were all dismissed and suspended, and all those things were happening. So, as you can see, it was at this time Swaran Singh committee also recommended that we should not allow service matters to go to the level of High Court or to the Supreme Court. Okay, Swaran Singh committee said that for disposing of with service matters, let's create a parallel structure which are called as tribunals. Okay, let the tribunals have the final say when it comes to service related matters. No decision of the tribunal can be appealed in High Court or the Supreme Court. So exclude the jurisdiction of High Court and Supreme Court from adjudicating into tribunal matters. What jurisdiction? Exclude the appellate jurisdiction, exclude the writ jurisdiction of High Court and Supreme Court, exclude everything. Tribunals must be the last resort. After that, no other court of appeal. It is only when you do this, service related matters will not go and clog the higher levels of judiciary. This was the recommendation given by Swaran Singh's committee. To give effect to Swaran Singh's committee, the 42nd Amendment Act, Constitution Amendment Act, one of the impact was addition of fundamental duties on the recommendation of Swaran Singh's committee. Another impact was the change to Article 323 of the Constitution was amended. 323A, 323B, two new articles were introduced. Okay, what are those new articles? Article 323A, it gave power in the hands of Parliament to create tribunals. Okay, and when Parliament creates tribunals under Article 323A, for what purpose is this? It is for the purpose of administrative matters. Okay, and we'll have a look at the constitutional provision. So this is another Article 323B. Tribunals can be created by Parliament as well as state legislatures. This is for various other matters. So this is how the tribunal framework was made as a part of the constitutional scheme itself. Power was given so as to create tribunals. Okay, I'll just share with you the constitutional provisions. Yeah, 323A. So Parliament may by law provide for the adjudication or trial by administrative tribunals of disputes and complaints with respect to government servants. Okay, all that is fine. A law made under clause 1 may provide for establishment of administrative tribunals. All that is okay. Specify the jurisdiction, provide for procedure, exclude the jurisdiction of all. Yeah, this is more important. Look at subclause D of clause 2 of Article 323A. Exclude the jurisdiction of all courts except the jurisdiction of Supreme Court under Article 136. Yes. What is Article 136? What is the jurisdiction given under Article 136 of the Constitution? Anybody? What is Article 136? Power to appeal. No. You should not use the word appeal. Appeal means it is an appellate jurisdiction. So you should not use that. It's a different kind of a power. No, not the original jurisdiction is Article 131, not original jurisdiction. It is some extraordinary power of Supreme Court. What is that? Which high courts don't have? Yes, you're right. Not even to do complete justice. That is Article 142. This is something else. To rectify gross injustice at the lower levels. See, I'm saying it is a power of Supreme Court that even high courts do not have, and you are saying writ jurisdiction. How can it be? Yes, the correct answer is special leave petition. That is right. So constitution amendment was introduced to add article 323A, which provides for tribunals to adjudicate administrative matters. To adjudicate administrative matters, tribunals can be created only by the parliament, and any decisions of the tribunals, no other court can look into it except the Supreme Court under article 136. So tell me, is it easy for a clerk or a collector who has been proceeded against by the government? Is it easy for them to go and move the Supreme Court under the jurisdiction of Article 136? Article 136, as you are aware of, is special leave to appeal. And did I tell you about the rare nature of usage of Article 136? I think I have brought it to your attention, right? Article 136, can it be used as a matter of routine by the Supreme Court? Will it be used as a matter of routine by the Supreme Court to nullify the judgment of the lower court? Is that how Article 136 will be utilized? No, it's an extraordinary power which the Supreme Court will not use at all unless there are rare instances where the Supreme Court feels complete injustice has been given in the lower courts. It is not a power of the Supreme Court to revisit the judgment of the lower court just because the wisdom of the court is questionable. No, it is because the person has suffered injustice at the lower levels. So it's a very rare instance of Supreme Court entertaining special leave petitions under Article 136. So which actually means basically you're excluding completely the jurisdiction of Supreme Court and High Court. By saying only Article 136 jurisdiction is permitted, you are actually saying that you cannot go to Supreme Court at all, you cannot go to the High Court at all. This is what is the text of this constitution. This is to give effect to the recommendations of Swaran Singh committee, create tribunals for adjudication of certain matters and exclude completely the jurisdiction of other higher courts. Okay. So that is what is given here. And 323B is for other matters. What are the other matters? You have a list of the other matters given here for tax, customs, labor disputes, property, land laws. Okay. And for elections to either house of the parliament. Election petitions can be presented to election tribunals, but till date in India, we don't have a separate election tribunals which have been formed so as to adjudicate election disputes in a speedy and a faster manner. We don't have that. Even now, we are dependent on the high courts for the adjudication of election related disputes. Okay. So, but power is given under Article 323B for creation of tribunals for various other matters. With respect to environment also you can create, and for such kind of matters, right? So, but for all other purposes, tribunals can be created both by state governments as well as by the union also. Whereas for administrative related matters, service matters, creation of tribunals is the exclusive power of union alone. So that is why central government has so that is why parliament, so as according to the powers given under Article 323A, had passed a law which is called as Administrative Tribunals Act. Okay, in 1985 the act was passed, Administrative Tribunals Act, because of which the Central Administrative Tribunal was created. Okay, and various other state administrative tribunals was also created under the Administrative Tribunals Act. So as soon as this act was passed, immediately the act was actually challenged in a court of law. It was challenged in a case called as Sampath Kumar versus Union of India. What is the question before the court? First of all, how can is it correct to exclusion of jurisdiction? Supreme Court and High Court, is it allowed? This was the question. Okay, so this was one question. The other one is the Administrative Tribunals Act. There is a particular section called as Section 6 of Administrative Tribunals Act, which allowed for secretary level officers in union government. They can be made as members of tribunals. Okay, This was a provision in Section 6 of Administrative Tribunals Act. This was challenged that it violates the principle of separation of powers. And another question that was added to this particular case was, how can the jurisdiction of High Court and Supreme Court be excluded? These were the questions before the court. Okay. So, what was the court's opinion in this case? The court declared Section 6 as null and void. It is ultra vires of the Constitution. Just look at this dispute, look at this issue. Let's say you have a secretary who is sitting as a member of tribunal. Okay, he's a chairman of the tribunal. Let's say he's a chairman of the Central Administrative Tribunal. What is the issue here? The issue is collector versus a clerk. Okay, the clerk has been dismissed from his service. The clerk now comes before the tribunal. The collector will give a call to the secretary and he will say, sir, uh, don't deal with this case favorably, uphold my order that I have passed, dismiss the clerk's petition, don't give him justice. Don't you think the secretary will actually help the collector more than the clerk? Yes or no? Secretary is an IAS officer, collector is also an IAS officer. They have this fraternity bonding between them. So definitely the secretary will do what the collector asks him to do. So do you think that the clerk will actually get any justice before this body? Will he get any justice before this body? Hmm? Is it possible? It's not possible. That is why. So if instead of a tribunal, if the clerk were to go to a high court and there is a judge, independent member of judiciary who is sitting there and adjudicating this case, do you think the collector can call the judge and he can influence the decision of the judge? Is it possible? It is not possible. There is justice which is assured in a court of law, but because of executive membership here, there is no possibility of a justice being rendered here. That is why Section 6 was declared ultra vires, that it violates the principle of separation of powers. This cannot happen. And but this particular provision was upheld as correct, because Supreme Court also, and again, Article 323A, it said that Parliament can create a law to exclude jurisdiction except jurisdiction under Article 136. But the Administrative Tribunal Act did not exclude the jurisdiction of under Article 32. It excluded all the jurisdiction of high courts, but Supreme Court's jurisdiction under Article 32 was intact. This jurisdiction is intact as usual. So Supreme Court felt that anyway, if a person is aggrieved by a tribunal, he can actually approach the Supreme Court to ask the Supreme Court issue writ against the order of the tribunal. As long as Article 32 jurisdiction is not excluded, it is okay. Let the high courts be bypassed, because the government is trying to reduce the caseload in the high courts only. And government, why is it doing so? It is because High Courts Area Committee, which was headed by a judge of Supreme Court himself, that committee itself had given a recommendation that please establish tribunals so as to reduce the workload of high courts. So judiciary was also happy that the workload of the high court is going to reduce. That is why this provision, which excluded all jurisdiction of high court, was held to be valid. So in Sampath Kumar versus Union of India, Supreme Court said that tribunals are substitutes for high courts. This was the verdict given in the Sampath Kumar's case, which Supreme Court slowly realized was a big mistake that it had committed. That is why in 1999, another case was fought in Chandra Kumar's case, which was presided by a higher bench of judges, so that they were able to overturn the judgment of Sampath Kumar's case. In 1999, there was another case law which is called as Chandra Kumar versus Union of India. Okay, but between this time period, in this 13 years gap between Sampath Kumar and Chandra Kumar's case, there were so many problems that started coming in the tribunal framework, because of which the court had to fight back in Chandra Kumar's case. What happened in the interim period? The time when Supreme Court gave it Sampath Kumar's judgment, it was upheld that yes, high courts are tribunals are substitutes for high courts. The only thing it said was wrong was, you cannot appoint a serving IAS officer, a serving member of the executive cannot be posted as a member of the tribunal. That cannot be done. Okay. So this was the verdict which was given, and because of which the tribunals in India started mushrooming. A lot of tribunals began to be created for a variety of purposes because the court had finally accepted the tribunal framework by giving it a legal sanctity because of its judgment in Sampath Kumar's case. So what happened? Each and every body you create a tribunal. For each and every function, the government started creating tribunals because tribunals are wonderful post-employment avenues for retired IAS officers, the ones who are at the top levels calling the shots. Once they retire, now they'll become members of tribunals. And government is also happy by creating tribunals. You can bypass judiciary slowly, create environment tribunal, create in the law, jurisdiction of the high court is excluded. Similarly, so many tribunals are created so as to exclude the jurisdiction of the high courts. Slowly, Supreme Court realized what the executive was doing. What will be the powers left in the hands of high court, right? That was why the court had to interfere in Chandra Kumar's case. But before, in that period, what all happened? Tribunals started mushrooming for many matters. For every matter, the jurisdiction of high court began to be excluded. Next problem that started coming up was having a majority of non-judicial members in the tribunals. So this was another problem that started coming up. And so because of these kind of issues, the Supreme Court took up this issue, the question again in 99. It gave a verdict. It said that tribunals are not substitutes for high courts, but instead they are supplements for high courts. That is, from now onwards, tribunals will also exist, high courts will also exist, Supreme Court will also exist. So a person, if he is, let's say, collector versus a clerk, the clerk is aggrieved. Before he goes to the high court, he should first go to the tribunal, because tribunals have an inherent advantage in them. High court is strictly bound by the Civil Procedure Code, the Indian Evidence Act. Unless the other party appears before the court, until then the court will not unilaterally go ahead with hearing. No, that is the procedural issues of Civil Procedure Code and Indian Evidence Act. Without the other party, a court of law cannot function. It has to wait for the other party or the lawyer of the other party to appear before the court. Only then the hearing will happen. Ex parte, the hearing will not happen. But when it comes to tribunals, lot of procedural flexibilities are there. Okay, and in a normal court of law, you have to plead before the court only through your lawyer. Okay, but in tribunals that is not the case. You don't have to have a lawyer. You don't have to pay any fees or anything. Very minimal token fees. You can directly go and file your case, and you can talk in an informal manner, and you can get a judgment at the end of the day. So tribunals are, in fact, they have their own advantage. They are cheaper, they are speedier compared to the normal courts. So in Sampath Kumar's case, it was held that tribunals will continue to exist, but tribunals are not replacements for high courts. Tribunals will function in addition to the high courts. So if a person wants to go, he can go to the tribunals. If he is still aggrieved by the order of the tribunal, now he can go to the high courts. The high courts appellate jurisdiction was restored back with respect to tribunals. Tribunals are now placed under the jurisdiction of high courts. So basically what has now happened, the very purpose for creation of tribunals itself has now come under attack. You create a tribunal so as to sort out this problem of pendency in courts, but now once again restoring the jurisdiction of high courts over tribunals, it is once again leading to a backlog of cases in the high courts, because everybody is going to now appeal once again back to the high courts. If this is going to happen, then why even create tribunals in the first place? That is why so many state tribunals, state administrative tribunals are all now getting dismantled. Government is doing away with the tribunals because it is not serving any useful purposes. But still, we do have a body called as Central Administrative Tribunals, which is often in the news. I think last year also there was one question, 2019 mains, there was one question with respect to CAT. Okay. I don't know whether it's 19 or 20. Is it 2020 mains or I think 2019 mains? There was a question on CAT. The CAT, which was formed as a quasi-judicial body, is performing its function as an independent authority. Examine. There was a question like that because CAT was in news for many wrong reasons in that year. It doesn't mean that this year also CAT question can be asked. CAT was in news that year, so a question was asked about the functioning of Central Administrative Tribunal. What if I ask you a question? Does the Central Administrative Tribunal, can it have the power to punish for its contempt? I said it's a quasi judicial body, right? Can Central Administrative Tribunal have the power to punish for its contempt? As you know, High Court and Supreme Courts have those powers. Can tribunals, does the tribunal have the power to punish for its own contempt? Yes or no? What would be your answer? No. The answer is wrong. Look at this. So of course, CAT has been prescribed under the Administrative Tribunals Act 1985. CAT has been given the powers to punish for its own contempt. So that is why this was where the problem started. The CAT gave a contempt notice against a judge of a high court, saying that you have committed an act of contempt against the order of CAT. So it becomes a institutional conflict. Supreme Court has said in the clear in its verdict in Chandrakumar's case, tribunals are under the jurisdiction of high courts. And the power of punishing for its contempt is a power which the tribunal has to use against an official authority. Maybe after the tribunal has given a verdict that the clerk has to be reinstated. Even after that, the collector is not reinstating the clerk, then you use your power of contempt, that is acceptable. But tribunal using its power of contempt against a judge of a high court was something which became a strong point of conflict between a tribunal and a mainstream judicial institution. So CAT was in the wrong reasons during that particular year. And why was it in news for the wrong reasons? Because central government the Modi government had used its powers. It had used its powers under Rule 56J. Rule 56J of Central Services Conduct Rules. Central Civil Services Conduct Rules. What does it say? Rule 56J. After you reach tomorrow, when you have to get into your service, IAS or IRS or whatever it may be, once you reach 50 years of service, you don't have a guarantee that you will still be retained in the service. But it's not usually used. I'm just saying that what the rules say is once you become 50 years of age, after that, it is not your right to stay in the service. The central government may make an evaluation of how well you have performed in the last years, and based on its assessment, it will continue to retain you in the service, or you will be forced to retire. Okay, that is section 56G. So this provision was used by the government last year so as to compulsorily retire 10 IRS officers, very senior officers. They were all compulsorily retired just because they have been caught red-handed demanding corruption. They are proved. See, there's a saying, I don't know how many of you are from non-Tamils here. In government services, it's said government வேலை கிடைக்கிறது கஷ்டம், ஆனா அதுல இருந்து வெளியில போறது அதோட கஷ்டம். Okay, so it's tough to get a government job, but nobody can chase you out of a government job. That is also another safeguard of government services. Okay, so these people, even though they were caught red-handed taking bribe, still they were not able to be chucked out of the government service. It's because that is the kind of protection you have in so many ways of appeal and challenges and all these things. So the government was completely frustrated with these officials. So government decided that, okay, why don't we use, the government was actually waiting for them to reach 50 years of age. And after that, government used 56J. It gave compulsory retirement to these authorities. Immediately, what did these people do? They went running to the CAT, Central Administrative Tribunal. CAT stayed the order of the central government that you should not have done that. But don't you think the CAT functions under the highest court of this land? Do you think the Central Administrative Tribunal comes under the jurisdiction of Supreme Court or not? What would be your opinion? Supreme Court is the highest court. It does. CAT functions under the authority of the Supreme Court only. It is not an independent authority or anything. Supreme Court in its earlier judgments had clearly given a stand that Rule 56J, if it is used, it doesn't mean that you are arbitrarily punished, because you are already informed when you got into your service that there is something called as conduct, civil service conduct rules. Even it is after knowing 56J even exists, it is after that only you have even got into the government service. So it is not an arbitrary punishment. You are already well aware of the fact that you can be compulsorily retired when you reach 50 years of age. So Supreme Court in its earlier judgments had clearly given us judgments that compulsory retirement is not a disciplinary action. It is a regular administrative mechanism. So there is nothing unfair or wrong about a government decision to compulsorily retire its own civil servant. If Supreme Court has given this kind of an interpretation, don't you think if this case would have been in any other high court, don't you think the high court would have followed the stand of the Supreme Court? Yes or no? Supreme Court's decisions are binding, it becomes a binding precedent on other high courts. Yes or no? But Central Administrative Tribunal just ignored this earlier decisions of the Supreme Court. It gave its own order saying that it stayed the compulsory retirement order of the central government. So it is because of so many conflicts started coming up at that particular year. That is why this question was asked in the UPSC exam. A very beautiful question. It was CAT, which was formed for easier and speedier justice, has now started asserting its authority as a as a as an institution without any accountability. So something of that. The wording was very beautifully framed. You'll have to bring in all these points in the answer. But don't worry, I'm just giving you an idea to point out how UPSC asks questions. The question on CAT will definitely not repeat in the next years. Maybe there might be some other areas that UPSC can actually explore. Other areas that UPSC can actually explore is about the various problems in the tribunal framework in India. Today, we have so many tribunals. We have what is called as Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. We have National Green Tribunal. We have a tribunal for intellectual property rights. If it is violated, you can go and file a case in this tribunal. You just have so many tribunals today in India. And what are the various problems associated with tribunals? That is the subject matter of our study for UPSC purpose. All these constitutional provisions, whether what jurisdiction is there, what jurisdiction is not there, all these will not be asked in mains examination. Maybe for prelims, they may ask you questions on which authority can make a law. Parliament can make a law on administrative matters. The law can even prescribe the power of punishing for contempt in the hands of tribunals. After the Chandrakumar's judgment has been given, today, the existing position is that tribunals are under the jurisdiction of High Court. Tribunals can have non-judicial members because in Chandrakumar's case, the Supreme Court felt that functions today have become very, very specialized. Let's say Kaveri Water Tribunal. You cannot have only judicial members in a tribunal like Kaveri Water Tribunal. You need to have water experts. You need to have experts from Ministry of Water Resources. They have to be also there. So today's functions are specialized that non-judicial members have become a reality. So Supreme Court accepts non-judicial members as a part of tribunal framework in India. In Chandrakumar's case, the Supreme Court has also given a verdict that tribunals also enjoy the power of limited judicial review. Okay. Are you able to follow? Are you able to follow what is being discussed? Because I'm not writing anything. I'm just going on verbal manner. Yes. Okay. So the Supreme Court gives a verdict in the Chandrakumar's case that tribunals also have a power of limited judicial review. What is this limited judicial review? Can high courts review the constitutional validity of parliamentary law? Tell me, can it be done or can it not be done? Let's say Parliament makes a law called as Environment Protection Act. Whether this law is valid as per the provisions of the Constitution or not. Can it be reviewed by High Court or is it not possible? What is your answer? No. Oh my God. Why? Why do you say no? Why do you say High Courts cannot review the validity of a parliamentary law? Why do you think so? Beyond territory? No, 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 no. No. The order of the High Court is applicable only within the territory. Okay. But it doesn't mean that High Courts are barred from reviewing the validity of a law. Do you get the point? The verdict of the High Court about the validity of the law will be applicable only within Tamil Nadu. That is different, but it doesn't mean that High Court is excluded from reviewing the validity of the law. So in today, The validity of a parliamentary law like Environment Protection Act can be reviewed by Supreme Court as well as High Court, right? The word that Supreme Court uses in Chandrakumar's case is tribunals have a limited power of judicial review. What does it mean? Limited power of judicial review. The Supreme Court clarifies that parent law, whether it is valid or not, a tribunal cannot go into it. Let's say a national green tribunal cannot check about the validity of the constitutional validity of a law like Environment Protection Act. That cannot be done by a tribunal. But what National Green Tribunal can do is it can look into the validity of subordinate legislations. What are the subordinate legislation? So do you know that there is a particular process called as environment impact assessment? Are you aware of that? Environment impact assessment. Yes, you find out what will be the consequences of a particular environment project on the ecosystem, right? So this environment impact assessment is a process that has to be done as per the provisions of Environment Protection Act. Environment Protection Act gives this prescribes this process called as environment impact assessment. To do this environment impact assessment, it will be done based on the rules that will be notified by the Environment Ministry. So last year, the Environment Ministry had come up with the draft EIA rules. Are you aware of that? Draft Environment Impact Assessment Rules, which was questioned, which was subject to a lot of debate and discussions. Yes, correct. So this is what is called as subordinate legislation. The executive can make rules because the executive has been given the power under Environment Protection Act to prescribe rules. This is called as a subordinate law. The rules are called a subordinate law. So tribunals power of limited judicial review will apply to subordinate legislation but not to the parent legislation. This was the verdict of the Supreme Court in Chandrakumar's case. So you should know these ideas in your mind. Tribunals do have power of judicial review but a very limited scope of judicial review. Tribunals can have both judicial as well as non-judicial members. Tribunals can Tribunals are not substitutes for high courts anymore. They are only supplementary bodies to high courts. This is the outcome as of date after the Chandrakumar's judgment. Okay, this is all fine. How is going to be our discussion for UPSC mains examination purpose? They'll ask you about the issues and challenges, shortcomings, problems with respect to tribunal framework. Okay, so can some of you, can you tell me what are the issues with tribunals in India? What are the problems associated with tribunals and their functioning in India? I'll share with you a good document uh, which can help you gather a lot of points. Okay, just give me a minute. I'll just search for it and I'll give you. See, this is how my search. Can you see my browser? I think you can see my browser, right? Yeah. See, I don't actually browse and go through all these websites of IAS, Parliament, or let it be Civils Daily. And you should also not do that. You should read from these kind of proper papers which talks about the problems. Okay. So this is a very good document that you will be able to find it. Download research. It's a very beautiful document. One solution, one stop source for your entire study on problems with tribunal framework in India. Okay, it's a document for 88 pages. Not all 88 pages is relevant for our study. Very simple. You read the first 25 pages, it is good enough. After that, it is all appendix and annexures and all those tables and all those things. 20 pages, but it can give you a very clear idea about the problems faced by tribunals in India. Okay. So first, I'll get some answers from you. What do you think are the problems with tribunal framework in India? Any answers? Tribunals are also in news recently. Okay, there is a bill that is introduced recently. I don't know if you are aware of that. very recent bill, Tribunal Reform, Rationalization and Conditions of Service Bill 2021, very recently introduced. Once you go through this document, which I have now shared with you, you will be able to get the right points. After that, you come and study this bill. Only if you know the existing problems in the tribunal framework, you will be able to appreciate the utility of this recent bill that has been introduced in Lok Sabha. So you have to first do the groundwork of finding out the purposes, issues in the present tribunal framework in India. Okay. So I'll just share that screen. Where is it? Yeah, it's here. Not the final authority. That is not an issue. That is not an issue, because when the Supreme Court has decided that the tribunal cannot be the final authority, so that cannot be cited as a problem in tribunal framework. Okay, so you have to move from there. You have to go to the next level of issues. What are those next level of issues? Tribunal's verdicts are not respected by central government. Like, for example, in passing tribunal orders and gazettes, like Kaveri Tribunal Order, it took years for central government to publish in the central gazette. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yes, you can mention that and bring it in the answer. Very correct. Very correct. So if you go through this document, you will come across a lot of issues, lot of challenges. I'll just broadly give you an idea about issues. So see, when you read this, you will come across what is the utility of Sampath Kumar's case, and then Chandra Kumar, what has been the current position after the Chandra Kumar's case, and all those things you will come across it. So it will give a background about how did tribunal structure even come into existence. So that is also given here. The Swaran Singh's committee was set up to revisit, and all these things are also given. It's a very good document. Okay. So can you find it out yourself, or okay, I'll share the link. So this is the link in which you can download this document and you can go through it. Okay. Okay, constitutionality. The two case laws are important here. A seven-judge bench in Chandra Kumar's case, a five-judge bench in Sampath Kumar. Whatever I have discussed, that is what you'll find here also. Basically, I have discussed what is there in the document only. Okay. Anyway, okay. So we'll look into the issues with respect to tribunals, with respect to independence of the tribunals. Okay, efficiency. Okay. You have so many issues here. Wait. Yeah. Okay, we'll look at the various issues. The issues is, first of all, maybe executive overreach. Yeah, you're right. I'm just coming to it. See, first issue is, as I told you, there is too much of tribunals working in India today, which are unnecessary, which are just created for the purpose of being a post-retirement options for officers. That is why this particular draft document gives a wonderful recommendation that there should be a rationalization of tribunals. Except for all tribunals must be merged under 8 heads. There should be only a few different functional domains under which all the tribunals in India must be merged, and it should be brought under unnecessary tribunals where there is an overlap of functions. All that must be done away with. It is to achieve that purpose. The recent bill has been introduced in Lok Sabha. The bill is called as Tribunals Rationalization Bill. It is for the purpose of eliminating a few tribunals and to merge those functions to bring them directly under the High Court. Because Chandra Kumar's case has anyway, it has clearly stated that tribunals are under the jurisdiction of High Court. So people would normally go for appeals from tribunals to the High Courts. If that is the case, then why do you even have to have unnecessary tribunals? That is why, you see, this is the features of Tribunal Rationalization Bill. What it tries to do is transfer of functions of key appellate bodies as proposed. All these acts, as of now, they provide for so many different tribunals. So you look at this, the appellate tribunal under Cinematograph Act is now transferred to High Court. Appellate Tribunal under Trademarks Act. Now it is merged with the High Court. So this is a wonderful bill for rationalization of tribunals, doing away with unnecessary tribunals. So this can be the first point that you can bring out in your answer. You can say that we do have excess amount of tribunals than what is necessary. And in the context of post Chandrakumar judgment, where tribunals have anyway been brought under the jurisdiction of high courts, there is no constructive purpose served by having tribunals for minor matters. So hence the rationalization bill of 2021 goes a long way in curtailing the expansion of tribunals in the country, right? So you can talk about that issue in this manner. And first issue, too much tribunals, especially in the context of post Chandrakumar judgment, where tribunals actually are not required anymore because they have all been brought under the jurisdiction of high courts. That can be one. Next is qualification for appointment. Okay. There are some issues which are given here. There are wonderful studies which are done here. Look here. A breakdown of the composition of, okay. So what I want to point out here is 16 of them are president of Supreme Court. Such composition of search come where members of nomination a majority would be seen as to be compromising the independence of those respective tribunals. Okay, just a minute, just give me a minute. I think this is given in a very, it is depicted in a better manner. Let me just come to that. Yeah, it is here. There are some issues which actually interfere with the independent functioning of the tribunals. What are they? It is given here. Look at this. This particular paper had analyzed a number of tribunals in India. Out of 37 tribunals analyzed, okay, what is the correct status? They have analyzed this 37 tribunals with an eye on the appointment process. How are members appointed? Because it is with respect to appointment of members, the executive can actually infringe upon the independence of the judiciary, because independence of tribunals, because judicial appointments are an independent process. They are done by a collegium system, a very independent method where executive's interference has been removed at least after the third judge's case. But when it comes to tribunals, this paper has studied a total of 37 tribunals. And what is the finding? Out of 37 tribunals, 18 tribunals have selection committees. Having a selection committee means that it is a good process. A selection committee will have joint membership of members of judiciary as well as members of executive. And even in that, there is a problem. Let's discuss about that. 18 tribunals have selection committees, while 14 do not have any selection committees. Even among the 18 tribunals, 3 do not have any judicial members in their selection committees. Can you understand the gravity of the problem here? Yes, 14 tribunals out of 37 tribunals that are analyzed do not even have a selection committee. That is, it is all completely left to the discretion of the executive to appoint members of tribunals. If that is the case, what kind of an independent process can you actually expect out of these tribunals? It is only out of the 18 tribunals, you have a search cum selection committee. Even among those 18 tribunals, 3 do not have any judicial members, right? So it means that even in cases where there are selection committees, it is dominated by executive members. These are all points for your exam. If at all a question is about what prevents the tribunals from acting in an independent manner, examine the efficiency of tribunals. When you have such kind of issues, when you bring your answer to point out the persistent problems in tribunal framework, this is a point that you have to write. The lack of independence is the result of non-transparent appointment method. And you have to write it like this. Various studies have pointed out that bulk of the tribunals, a majority of the tribunals, do not have a search cum selection committees for appointment of members to the tribunals. And even in those tribunals where the appointment is done through a search and selection committee, some tribunals, some of these tribunals bodies do not have judicial members, thus allowing executive dominance in the appointment of members to tribunals, which in turn, and this executive dominance casts a shadow on the independent nature of functioning of the tribunals. Okay, so this is how you'll have to write a point when you study about the problems associated with tribunals. Similarly, you have other issues. When it comes to removal of members, a same kind of an analysis has been made. Okay, they have studied a few number of tribunals. Out of 37 tribunals analyzed, see, you can read all these stories which are given here. I'm just coming to the nutshell. Out of 37 tribunals analyzed, look at this. 37% of the tribunals in India do not require any inquiry process for removal of the member or the chairman. Do you think that can the chairman or the members act in an independent manner if this is the case? For removing the members, if you have a proper inquiry mechanism, you ensure independence in the minds of the members of the tribunals. If you don't have a proper inquiry mechanism, anytime you can be just thrown out like that, right? So this is another problem when it comes to removal. If possible, you can quote the source and all these things. If not, just write in a general manner. um, Various tribunals, when you read the document, you'll understand what are those tribunals. Even if you have one or two examples, you can say in these tribunals we don't have a separate inquiry process for the removal of members of the tribunals, whereas out of the analyzed tribunals only 52% have mandatory inquiry process which has to be followed before member is removed, and for 11% it is only for specified grounds. Maybe if it is a issue of misbehavior, if it is an issue of sexual harassment complaint or against a member of the tribunal, maybe in those matters alone an inquiry has to be conducted to check the correctness of the allegation. But if it is about corruption allegations, maybe in those cases without an inquiry a tribunal member can be removed. That is what is meant by only for certain specified grounds an inquiry process is required. But you can also see for 37% of the tribunal bodies in India, there is no inquiry required, complete discretion. It's like the pleasure of the executive. If that is the case, what kind of an independence can you even expect from these tribunals? And reappointment. Out of the so many tribunals analyzed, look at this. Only 17% of the tribunals have expressly, they have barred reappointment. No reappointment is possible. Okay. um, eh, but 50% they are silent. The tribunal, the acts are silent whether members can be reappointed again or not. And in 33% of the tribunals, the act itself allows for reappointment. So which means that 33% of the tribunals, the members of the tribunal will have some obligation towards the executive because they can be reappointed once again, right? So you come across these kind of issues when you go through this document. I don't have the time to go through this document. I have referred you to the source. It is your duty to go through it. I have only given you this framework of tribunals in which they work as per the constitution. And I have told you two landmark judgments, Sampath Kumar's and Chandra Kumar's, what is the present status of tribunals in India. But having to go beyond that, you have to refer a document, at least this one document you should be referring. If you have time, if you face some good questions in your test series which tests you about other areas of the tribunals also, you can read more and more areas also. Okay, so I think I'll stop here. I'm yet to discuss something about regulatory bodies to you, but it's already time. I don't know whether I'll get any further sessions or not. I think this is sufficient enough. I don't think maybe if time permits, if your prelims gets postponed or something, we can have one more session maximum. Okay, one more session in which I can discuss with you about regulatory bodies, and also discuss, give you an idea about subordinate judiciary, high courts and subordinate judiciary, because I don't think I'm going to take state legislature for you. Not necessarily that state legislature has to be discussed. You can read it out yourself. The only area where some assistance can be provided is with respect to high courts and with respect to lower judiciary, subordinate courts. So if I can get one more class, I'll discuss with you these topics. Okay, but I think majority of the topics are covered, and don't read anything apart from what has been taken in the classes. Okay, you will have so many other topics also in Lakshmikant. Not necessary that you have to go and read each and everything in Lakshmikant. You cover whatever has been taken in the class, cover them thoroughly. Don't leave any loose ends. I'm sure you'll be able to answer all the questions in polity correct. Okay, if you can just revise and re-revise what has been taken in the classes till now. So even that would be sufficient enough. Okay, I think we are done. Okay. Yeah, you your choice of words is good. Yeah, basically, if you would want to develop your speaking skills, I would say you have to read. Okay, it's only through reading you can develop some good speaking skills. I don't think I have developed my speaking skills in any other manner other than reading books. I read and I keep reading, and I also talk to people, and I can also say that my speaking skills have actually improved after getting into the service also, because you have no other option than to interact with people of other states and other languages. So I don't think I was as good as how I speak right now when I was an aspirant like you. Okay, I was decent enough. I was not bad, that is for sure, because I had a constant touch with reading. But speaking skills develop with a lot of spoken practice also. So if you have some North Indian friends, if you have some company with whom you can actually practice it out with in English, that can also actually help you. Okay, so don't be worried about all those things. I think the way you answer questions and all, it's very good. Okay, so you just focus on your strength. That is good enough to clear this examination. If you can write well, that is good enough. Speaking will automatically come if you know how to write well. To write well, you should know how to read well, and I think with the kind of message you have typed, I am pretty sure you will be able to read and write well. So should not be a very big issue or anything. And maybe I can suggest you one extra step initiative that you can take at your end, which is basically to observe how this discussions and debates in news channels are carried out. Okay, when you see that, you will develop your own distinct body language and your own way of expressing your thoughts. So I think that can actually be helpful in preparing you for UPSC interview purposes. Okay, so that is one suggestion which I can give you to improve your skill of speaking. Do you take polity optional classes? No, no, no. I don't take any other optionals. My only interaction is with respect to polity alone. So whether students have any common group from the academy Telegram channel, I don't know about that. I thought you guys will have a common group amongst yourself, or maybe what I'll do is I'll pass the document to Shruti. Okay, Shruti, I think you're in touch with Shruti from the academy, right? Your schedule coordinator and all. So I'll pass on the document to, or pass on the, or Mageshwar, do you have a common group amongst yourself? All of you are, I think you should be having some common Telegram group or something, I think. No, you don't have one now. I thought all other batches have such kind of a common Telegram groups. Yeah, you have, right? So that is it. Then I'll share the document by today or tomorrow to Mageshwar and you can get it from him. Okay. All right. So we are done. And and I'm sure you would all do very well in the exam. This is a very intelligent batch, which I have found. So if you have any issues or if you would like to be in touch with me, you anyway have my mail ID with you. So you can always drop a mail. My response might be delayed, but it will definitely be given. Okay. It might be delayed for some reasons or the other, but there will always be a reply to your queries. So you can always be in touch even after your exams are all over also. All right. So thank you. Uh, we can see if we can meet after your prelims is all over. Once you come and enroll in your mains test series, yeah, definitely you'll be enrolling in mains test series for sure if you clear prelims. At that time also we can have any interactions. Okay. All yeah, constitutional and non-constitutional bodies are necessary. Yes, you have to study them. That is one area which I want to touch upon. I'll try to find out one more class with the batch. Okay, one more class. I'll try to figure it out some way or the other. I'll try to squeeze in and just give you an idea about how to approach non-constitutional bodies, because constitutional bodies by now you would be clear about it. You would know about finance commission, you would know about CAG, but there is, it's easy, it's not tough, it's not at all tough. You just need to know about the functions that is performed by these bodies. With the kind of functions, you'll be able to understand the composition and independence of the body and everything. I'll find out one more class. Okay, one more class probably by this weekend if possible. We'll have a class. Okay, so thank you. So do even if we are not going to connect in the future, do well in your exams. Make sure and you do well in your with respect to your prelims preparation. Always make sure every day you solve 20 questions at least. 20 questions, and history and polity are two subjects which you will have to be always constantly in touch. You have to just keep in touch constantly. Okay, you should never lose touch of these two subjects. too much memory oriented subjects, these two subjects. And try to try to go beyond 80 questions in prelims, though it is not a thumb rule. In fact, even I would not have, I don't have such a policy. My best attempts used to be within 75 questions, and out of 75 I used to get 65 questions correct. That was my way of approaching question paper. But these days people are all going beyond 85 questions, beyond 90 questions. So maybe that is a trend. What I would suggest is, even if you're missing out questions, make sure the questions that you miss out are from science and tech and from current affairs. Don't miss out questions from polity, history, geography, and these static subjects, because the really capable students will almost get all the questions right in these subjects. So try to come up with some kind of elimination strategy and try to choose one among those answers from these questions if it is asked. If a question is from current affairs, from science and tech, especially if it is a question like a question is given A, B, C, D, one you have to choose, where the probability of getting an answer is 1 by 4th. If you don't know, happily skip them. Don't be worried about it. But don't miss out on questions from static subjects, especially from polity, history, geography, and all. If you have questions, go for it. And keep focusing on agriculture related topics. Geography is getting modified. Questions are more about agriculture these days. So focus on agriculture, focus on cropping patterns, focus on cropping practices. How is a particular crop grown, cultivated? What are the cropping seasons? Those kind of areas tend to give more focus upon. And also I would say, if it comes to some science and tech question and application oriented questions, what is this technology used for? You have 4 or 5 options. uh, let's say one of the option you are not sure about it. You have not even heard about it, but it doesn't mean that the option might be wrong. It may be correct. Just because you don't know a particular thing, don't think in science and technology the application would be a limited application. No, you may not know about a particular application, but still the technology can be used. But don't blame me if you get wrong later. I'm just saying, in science and tech, this kind of an approach, an inclusive approach, can work when it comes to science and tech. History, I think it is the other way around. You cannot assume things to be correct in history. Okay, let me not go into history. It needs a different approach. But for science and tech, I think this kind of an approach can actually work. Go through the last year's question paper and see if this kind of an approach can actually help you or not. I think in many of the science related questions, this approach can actually help you. The question on what is the usage of copper slag or iron slag, I think all options are right. The question on what is the use of blockchain technology, artificial intelligence, I think all the options will be right. Okay, so something like that. So you'll be finding out that in science and tech, it's not possible. There can be innumerable technology applications that can be the use of a applications which can be the result of a particular technology. You may not have heard about it, but that can also exist. That is the benefit of doubt that you have to give for a particular application. By choosing answers in that manner, I think you may get science and tech questions better. In fact, in spite of me saying these strategies, I would not follow any of these strategies. Let me be clear about it. I'm just giving the strategies so that some of you might want these kind of shortcuts and strategies. But my personal opinion is that I would not go with these strategies. If I know, I'll go with that. If I don't know, I will not go for that question. That was how I used to attend. So my range of my questions was, as I told you, it's only 75. Not never have I gone more than 75 questions. But strike rate was pretty good. That is because of my command over 2 subjects, polity and history. I know that 25 questions from these 2 subjects, if it is asked, I will be able to get 22 or 23 questions. I know I will get it perfectly right. So that was the reason why I can say that I will not go beyond 75 questions. If you also are quite good with these 2 subjects, in addition, if you are also quite good with economy, then you can also go for a limited approach, not blindly going for other questions. But if you feel that I'm not really that strong, you will know, get that feel in the day of the examination when you solve questions. And also when you solve questions, no, don't spend too much time on the question, one particular question. If you spend too much time on a question, most probably the answer is going to be wrong. The best way is look at a question, have a very relaxed mindset. Just look at it as bored of this exam. Okay, just write this exam as if you're bored of this. You want to just end this paper and get out of this room. So just have a look at the question. Oh, this is the first question. Okay, this seems to be somewhat appropriate. Okay, let me go with that. This is how you have to face the questions, not sitting and getting obsessed with the question. Where have I studied that? Sir did not take this in the class. What am I going to do now? No, it can be any of the question. But just looking at the options, you should be able to differentiate what is a relevant option and what is not a relevant option. That comes up with some kind of a uh, that comes up with some, again, it's all practice only. Nothing, we are not born with all these skills. Practice identifying irrational and nonsensical options, irrelevant options. That is the way how you can actually choose the correct options and wrong options. Okay, so that's all. I think we'll conclude it here. If you have queries, you can drop a mail, and we'll see. Okay, thank you.